The summons arrived on a Thursday afternoon, delivered to my dental practice between patients. My receptionist, Maria, handed it to me with raised eyebrows. Dr. Martinez, this just came for you. It looks official. I was being sued by my sister for $36,000 per year in emotional damages because my success was causing her severe psychological distress and loss of life opportunities. I read it twice, sure I was misunderstanding, but no, there it was in black and white. Natalie Martinez was suing me, Diana Martinez, for being too successful. I called my husband Marcus during lunch. You're not going to believe this. Your sister finally lost it? She's suing me for emotional damage, because I'm a dentist and she's not. Silence. Then, please tell me you're joking. I'm holding the papers right now. She wants $3,000 a month because my success makes her feel bad about herself. That can't be legal. According to this, she's claiming intentional infliction of emotional distress, unjust enrichment, and, this is my favorite, systemic familial oppression. What does that even mean? I think it means I oppressed her by going to dental school while she dropped out of community college to follow her boyfriend's band. The lawsuit was vintage Natalie. For 32 years, everything had been someone else's fault. Failed her classes? The teachers were against her. Lost her job? Her boss was jealous. Boyfriend left? He couldn't handle her success. Now, apparently, her lack of career was my fault too. The court date was set for 6 weeks out. I hired a lawyer, not because I was worried, but because I wanted this shut down properly. Shannon Reeves came highly recommended and barely kept a straight face reading the complaint. In 20 years of practice, this is a first, she said. Your sister is claiming you deliberately became successful to make her look bad? That's the gist of it. And she wants monthly payments for this. Emotional damage? Apparently, my existence is traumatic. Shannon pulled up her laptop. Let's look at her social media. Plaintiffs claiming emotional distress usually tank their own cases online. She was right. Natalie's Instagram was a goldmine of contradictions. Posts about her blessed life. Expensive vacations funded by whatever boyfriend she had that month. Designer bags. Spa days. And scattered between them, rants about toxic family members who flaunt their privilege. This one's from last week, Shannon noted. Some people think they're better than everyone because they have degrees. Meanwhile, I'm living my best life without student loans. #blessed #University of Life. That's about me. I paid off my loans last year. And this one, money doesn't buy happiness. It just buys fake smiles and empty souls. Looking at you, sis. Charming. But here she is at a resort in Cabo 2 days later. How does someone claiming poverty afford that? Her boyfriend of the month. Probably. She has a type, older, wealthy, and easily manipulated. Shannon screenshotted everything. This is perfect. She's documenting her own good life while claiming damages. Any idea what triggered the lawsuit? I knew exactly what triggered it. Last month was our cousin Maria's wedding. Natalie brought her new boyfriend, a plastic surgeon, and spent the whole night trying to impress his colleagues, until they found out I was there. And they knew me. I've referred patients to most of the plastic surgeons in the city. They spent the reception talking to me about cases, asking my opinion on dental aesthetics. Natalie's boyfriend realized I wasn't just some dentist but the dentist who owns 3 practices. Let me guess, he was less interested in her after that. He broke up with her the next week. Apparently, he wasn't ready for a relationship, but Maria told me he said Natalie spent the entire ride home raging about how I'd humiliated her on purpose. Shannon shook her head. So she's suing you because her boyfriend liked you better? She's suing me because she's never taken responsibility for a single thing in her life. The weeks before the trial were exhausting. Natalie called our parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, anyone who would listen, playing the victim. She claimed I'd sabotaged her throughout our lives, that I'd stolen opportunities from her, that my success was built on her suffering. My mother called, torn between daughters. Diana, couldn't you just give her something, to keep the peace? Mom, she's suing me because I have a job. If I give her money now, what's next? A monthly payment because I'm married and she's single? She's struggling. She's 32. At some point, struggling becomes a choice. My father was more direct. This is ridiculous. You worked nights to pay for school while Natalie partied. Now she wants your money? Absolutely not. But the family pressure was real. Aunts suggested I should help my less fortunate sister. Cousins whispered about how some people have all the luck. The narrative was forming. Successful sister refuses to share with struggling sibling. I started keeping receipts of my own. Every birthday present I'd given Natalie, usually cash because she always needed it. Every loan I'd forgotten to collect. The apartment deposit I'd covered when she was 25. The car insurance I'd paid for 2 years. The dental work I'd done for free. Total over 10 years, $47,000. Shannon whistled when she saw the spreadsheet. You've already been paying her, just not officially. And it was never enough. Nothing is ever enough for Natalie. The day of the trial arrived gray and drizzly, matching my mood. I wore my most conservative suit, trying to look successful but not flashy. Natalie showed up in what looked like a cocktail dress, sobbing dramatically into a handkerchief. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Judge Helen Cooper presided, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s who looked like she'd seen everything. Natalie's lawyer, a young man who seemed to be questioning his life choices, presented their case first. The gist: I had systematically outperformed my sister, causing her severe emotional distress. My success was a constant reminder of her failures, and I should compensate her for this pain. My client has suffered watching her sister achieve everything she couldn't, he said, remarkably straight-faced. The defendant's success is a daily source of trauma. Judge Cooper's eyebrows climbed toward her hairline, but she said nothing. They presented evidence: photos of my house versus Natalie's apartment, my vacation photos versus her staycations, my wedding at a nice venue versus her string of failed relationships. The disparity is clear, the lawyer concluded. The defendant lives a life of luxury while my client struggles. This inequity has caused measurable psychological harm. When it was our turn, Shannon stood slowly. Your Honor, I hardly know where to begin. The plaintiff is essentially arguing that success is a tort, that achievement is actionable, that my client should be punished for going to school, working hard, and building a career. The emotional damage is real, Natalie burst out. She makes me feel worthless. Ms. Martinez, Judge Cooper said sharply, you'll have your chance to speak. Shannon continued, methodically destroying their case. She showed Natalie's social media posts bragging about her lifestyle, bank records showing regular deposits from various boyfriends, the spreadsheet of money I'd already given her. Far from causing harm, Dr. Martinez has financially supported her sister for over a decade, Shannon said. The only thing she's guilty of is enabling the plaintiff's refusal to take responsibility for her own choices. Then came character witnesses. My former employee testified that Natalie had asked her to steal from my practice. My cousin revealed that Natalie had tried to seduce her husband, claiming I'd stolen the life she deserved. My mother, reluctantly, admitted that Natalie had been fired from 6 jobs for various schemes and blamed me each time. Finally, it was my turn to testify. I kept it simple, factual. How I'd worked 3 jobs during college, the years of studying while Natalie partied, the risk of opening my own practice, the 60-hour weeks building my business. Did you ever prevent your sister from pursuing education or career opportunities? Shannon asked. No, I offered to pay for her to go back to school multiple times. She refused. Did you ever sabotage her employment? No, I actually got her jobs at 3 different dental offices. She was fired from all of them. Why? Theft, inappropriate behavior with patients, and chronic absence. Natalie's lawyer tried to cross-examine. Isn't it true you've always been jealous of your sister's free spirit? No. That you resented her popularity in high school? No. That you deliberately chose a career you knew she couldn't pursue? I almost laughed. I chose dentistry because I wanted to help people and make a good living. Natalie's life choices didn't factor into my career decisions. But you knew she struggled with science. She struggled with attendance. Hard to pass chemistry when you skip class to follow a band to Coachella. Judge Cooper had heard enough, but before ruling, she turned to Natalie. Ms. Martinez, she said, her voice deceptively mild. I have one question for you. Natalie perked up, probably thinking this was her chance to sway the judge. What have you done to improve your own situation? The courtroom went silent. Natalie's mouth opened and closed like a fish. I've tried, but Diana. No, Judge Cooper interrupted. What have you done? Not what your sister has done or hasn't done. What steps have you taken to education yourself, to build a career, to become financially independent? It's not that simple, Natalie wailed. She had advantages. She's smarter. She's prettier. She got all the luck. I see. And in 32 years, you've never found a single opportunity that wasn't somehow stolen by your sister? She makes me feel. Your feelings are not your sister's responsibility, Judge Cooper said firmly. Your choices are. You're asking this court to order your sister to pay you for being successful. Do you understand how absurd that is? But the emotional damage. The only emotional damage I see here is self-inflicted. You've spent so much time resenting your sister's success that you've forgotten to build your own. Natalie burst into tears, real ones this time. It's not fair. You're right, Judge Cooper said. It's not fair that some people work harder than others. It's not fair that some make better choices. It's not fair that success requires sacrifice. But that unfairness doesn't entitle you to a monthly payment from someone who did the work you refused to do. She turned to the court clerk. This case is dismissed with prejudice. The plaintiff will pay all court costs and the defendant's legal fees. And Ms. Martinez, she looked at Natalie, I strongly suggest you use this as a wake-up call. Your sister doesn't owe you success. No one does. That's something you have to build yourself. Natalie ran from the courtroom, sobbing. Her lawyer packed up quickly, probably already drafting his withdrawal from representation. Outside the courthouse, Shannon shook my hand. That was beautiful. I don't think I've ever seen a judge destroy someone so thoroughly with one question. What have you done to improve your own situation? I repeated. It's the question Natalie's been avoiding her whole life. Think she'll finally get it? Honestly, no. By tomorrow, this will be my fault too. I'll have somehow manipulated the judge, bribed the court, used my dental connections to corrupt justice. I was right. By evening, Natalie was on social media claiming the system was rigged, that successful people always win, that she was a victim of legal oppression. But something interesting happened. The comments weren't sympathetic. Our cousin Maria posted the court transcripts. Other family members shared their own stories of Natalie's schemes and excuses. The narrative shifted. My phone rang. Mom. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I've enabled her, haven't I? Always making excuses, always expecting you to help. We all have, Mom, that's why she is who she is. The judge was right. She needs to improve her own situation. Yeah, but she won't. Not as long as someone else will do it for her. A month later, Natalie moved to Arizona to live with her newest boyfriend. She posted about starting fresh and leaving toxic people behind. She still hasn't spoken to me, which is probably for the best. The bill for legal fees arrived, $18,000. The court ordered Natalie to pay it. She hasn't. Of course, Shannon says we could pursue it. Garnish wages if she ever gets a job, but I let it go. Consider it the final payment on a lifetime of enabling. You could have won the money back, Marcus pointed out. I already won, I said. A judge, in open court, asked Natalie the one question she can't answer, made her face the truth she's been running from her whole life. What have you done to improve your own situation? Exactly, and she had nothing. 32 years of nothing but blame and excuses. The lawsuit became family legend. The time Natalie sued Diana for being successful. The time a judge made her confront reality. The time the universe said enough to her eternal victimhood. I still get texts from unknown numbers sometimes. Natalie creating new accounts to send me articles about income inequality or sibling rivalry. I don't respond. There's nothing left to say. She wanted $3,000 a month for emotional damage. Instead, she got a question that damaged her more than any judgment could. What have you done? The answer, as always with Natalie, was nothing. And that's the real reason she ran from that courtroom crying. Not because she lost the case, but because for one moment, she couldn't run from the truth. The only person responsible for Natalie's life is Natalie. And apparently, that's the most emotionally damaging truth of all.
The pregnancy test was still warm in my hand when my sister called it a science experiment. My name is Summer, and I should probably start by saying that I never expected my family to throw me a parade when I finally got pregnant, but I also never expected them to treat my miracle baby like she was some kind of laboratory mistake. You know what I mean, Gemma said, twirling her wine glass at last Sunday's dinner. It's not exactly natural, is it? All those doctors and needles and whatever they do in those clinics. I was 34 weeks pregnant then, exhausted and grieving and trying so hard to hold it together. Micah had been gone for 8 months. 8 months since the heart attack that took him at 35, right when we were supposed to start our final round of IVF. It's called in vitro fertilization, I said quietly, and it's how your niece is going to be born. Test tube baby, Gemma muttered under her breath, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Mom, Ingrid, didn't even look up from her plate. Well, it's certainly been an expensive journey for you, hasn't it? That's my family for you. While I was spending my savings on fertility treatments and burying my husband, they were keeping score of every dollar. The thing is, I used to think we were close. Growing up, Gemma and I shared everything. Clothes, secrets, dreams about our future families. She got pregnant with her first at 26, easy as breathing, then again at 28. 2 beautiful, healthy kids who my parents doted on like they were made of gold. Meanwhile, I was getting my 3rd miscarriage at 31. Maybe it's just not meant to be, Mum said after that one, patting my hand like I was a child who'd scraped her knee. Some women aren't built for motherhood. Gemma was pregnant with her 3rd by then. She didn't say anything, just rubbed her belly and gave me this look, part pity, part smugness. Like she'd won some competition I didn't even know we were having. But Micah never gave up. God, I missed that man. He held me through every negative test, every failed cycle, every doctor's appointment that ended in disappointment. When the specialist suggested IVF, he squeezed my hand and said, "Whatever it takes." We did 3 rounds. The first 2 failed. The 3rd one worked, but I lost the baby at 12 weeks. By then, we'd spent almost everything we had. "Maybe this is a sign," Dad said when I told them about the miscarriage. Edward's always been the type to look for easy answers, especially when they mean he doesn't have to deal with messy emotions. "A sign of what?" I asked. "That you should focus on other things. Your career, travel. There are other ways to have a fulfilling life." Other ways. Like my pain was just a hobby I could drop when it got inconvenient. The 4th round was supposed to be our last chance. We'd scraped together enough money for one more try, and Micah had already started talking about adoption if it didn't work. We were scheduled to start the cycle in March. Micah died in February. I found him on our kitchen floor when I came home from work. The paramedics said it was massive. He wouldn't have suffered. Small comfort when you're 33 and suddenly a widow with a freezer full of embryos and no idea how to move forward. The funeral was a blur. I remember Gemma crying harder than I was, which somehow made me feel guilty for not falling apart properly. Mum kept introducing me to people as our daughter who's been through so much, like my grief was a character trait. But the worst part was after, when everyone went home and I was sitting in our empty house, staring at the IVF calendar still stuck to the refrigerator. "You should probably cancel all that medical stuff," Mum said when she called to check on me. "It's not like you can do it alone." "Actually," I said, "I can." The silence on the other end stretched long enough that I thought she'd hung up. "Summer," she finally said, "don't you think you've been through enough?" That's when I knew. They didn't want me to have this baby. They wanted me to give up, move on, stop being the broken daughter who reminded them that sometimes life doesn't work out the way it's supposed to. But I wasn't giving up. Not on Micah's dream, not on our child. I went through with the transfer in April, alone in that clinic room, holding a picture of Micah and whispering promises to the tiny cluster of cells they were placing inside me. 2 weeks later, I got the call. Positive. Now here I am, 3 months postpartum, holding my beautiful daughter Esme, while my family acts like she's some kind of consolation prize I bought myself. The invitation came yesterday. Cream cardstock, elegant script, Gemma's name embossed in gold. "We're having a little gathering," she'd said when she called. "Family dinner. I have something exciting to share." I should have known better than to say yes. Gemma's dining room looked like something out of a magazine. Fresh flowers, matching napkins, the good china that only came out for special occasions. I should have known she was buttering everyone up for something. "There's my little science experiment," Gemma cooed as I walked in carrying Esme's car seat. The words hit me like a slap, but I forced a smile. Her name is Esme. "Of course it is." Gemma lifted the blanket to peek at my sleeping daughter. "She's so small. Are you sure she's developing normally?" "She's perfect," I said, setting the car seat down carefully. 3 months old and hitting all her milestones. Well, that's good. Mum appeared beside us, barely glancing at Esme. Though I suppose with all those medical interventions, you never really know what you're going to get. Dad chuckled from his spot at the head of the table. Remember when babies just happen naturally? Simpler times. Tyrell, Gemma's husband, looked uncomfortable. Come on, guys. Summer's been through a lot. Oh, we know, Gemma said, settling into her chair. We've all been very patient while Summer figured out her situation. The way she said situation made my skin crawl, like my fertility struggles and Micah's death were just inconveniences for everyone else. So what's the big announcement? I asked, desperate to change the subject. Gemma's face lit up. Tyrell and I are renewing our vows. 10 years of marriage deserves a celebration, don't you think? That's wonderful, I said, and I meant it. At least, I tried to. We're thinking something elegant. Maybe the country club, or that new venue downtown with the crystal chandeliers. Gemma's eyes sparkled as she described her vision. I've already picked out the dress. It's this gorgeous ivory silk that costs more than most people's cars. Sounds expensive, I said. Oh, it will be, but we deserve it, don't you think? After everything we've been through, supporting the family during difficult times. There it was, the dig I'd been waiting for. What difficult times? I asked. Mom cleared her throat. Well, dear, your fertility treatments weren't exactly easy on any of us. All those doctor appointments we drove you to, the emotional support during your setbacks. You drove me to exactly 2 appointments, I said, and both times you complained about the traffic. That's not the point, Gemma jumped in. The point is, we were there for you, through all of it. The failed cycles, the miscarriages, Micah's death. Don't. My voice came out sharper than I intended. Don't talk about Micah. I'm just saying, we supported you through everything, and now that you finally got what you wanted. She gestured vaguely toward Esme's car seat. Maybe it's time to support us. The room went quiet except for the soft sounds of Esme sleeping. I looked around the table at my family, really looked at them. Dad avoiding eye contact, Mum with that tight smile she wore when she was about to ask for something, Gemma leaning forward like a predator who'd cornered her prey. What exactly are you asking me to do? Well, Gemma said, the vow renewal is going to be quite an event. We're talking about 150 guests, full catering, live band, photographer, videographer. How much? 50,000, maybe 60, depending on the flowers. I actually laughed. You want me to pay for your party? It's not a party, Mum said. It's a celebration of family, of love, of the kind of marriage that actually works. The barb hit home, and she knew it. Micah and I had been married for 6 years when he died. Not long enough, apparently, to count as a real marriage in their eyes. I'm not paying for your vow renewal, I said. Why not? Gemma's voice turned whiny. You have the money, Micah's life insurance, his 401k, the house. That money is for Esme's future. Oh, please, you have more than enough. And it's not like you have any other expenses now. No more fertility treatments, no more medical bills. Because my husband is dead. The words hung in the air like a curse. Esme stirred in her car seat, making soft baby noises. Look, Dad said, we're not asking for charity. We're asking for family support, the way families are supposed to work. The way families are supposed to work? I stood up, my hands shaking. Where was my family support when I was going through 8 years of infertility? Where were you when I was burying my husband? When I was doing IVF alone and terrified? We were here, Mum said. We've always been here. No, you weren't. You were here to judge me, to make me feel like a failure, to remind me that I was costing everyone money and time and emotional energy. But you were never here to actually help. Gemma rolled her eyes. God, you're so dramatic. We're talking about one party, Summer, One celebration to make things fair. Fair? Yes, fair. You got your baby, your miracle, your happy ending. Now it's my turn to have something special. I stared at her, this woman who'd shared a womb with me, who'd been my best friend for the first 20 years of my life. She was looking at me like I owed her something, like my years of pain and loss were just points in some cosmic game, and now it was her turn to win. I need to go, I said, reaching for Esme's car seat. Summer, wait. Mum stood up, her voice taking on that syrupy tone she used when she wanted something. Let's talk about this reasonably. You're emotional right now, which is understandable. New mother, hormones, grief, don't. But think about what's really important here. Family, legacy, the example you want to set for that little girl. I looked down at Esme, still sleeping peacefully, despite the tension crackling around her. My beautiful, perfect daughter who'd already been called a science experiment before she was even 4 months old. You're right, I said. I do want to set an example for her. Mum smiled, thinking she'd won. I want to show her that she doesn't have to accept being treated like garbage just because we share DNA. The smile disappeared. I picked up the car seat and headed for the door, my family's voices rising behind me in a chorus of protests and demands. But I kept walking, Esme safe in my arms, toward whatever came next. The phone started ringing before I even got Esme's car seat buckled in. Summer, get back in here right now! Mum's voice was sharp through the speaker. We're not finished talking. I declined the call and started the car. It rang again immediately. This is ridiculous, Gemma's voice this time. You're being a selfish brat. I turned off my phone and drove home in blessed silence, Esme still sleeping peacefully in the back seat. At least one of us was having a good day. The calls didn't stop. By the time I got home, I had 17 missed calls and a string of text messages that got progressively nastier. You're embarrassing yourself. Think about what Micah would want. That baby needs her family. Don't be petty. I was deleting them when my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I could see Mum standing on my porch, arms crossed, looking like she was ready for war. I know you're in there, Summer. Open the door. I considered pretending I wasn't home, but Esme chose that moment to start crying. Mum's face appeared at the window beside the door. Open up! We need to talk! I unlocked the door, but kept the chain on. What do you want? To finish our conversation like adults. She peered through the gap. May I come in? Against my better judgment, I let her in. She walked straight to the living room like she owned the place, taking in the baby bottles on the coffee table, the burp cloths draped over every surface, the general chaos of new motherhood. You can't keep living like this, she said. Like what? Isolated, angry, cutting yourself off from the people who love you. I almost laughed. Love me? Is that what you call what happened back there? We're family, Summer. Family doesn't always say what you want to hear. No, but they don't usually call your child a science experiment either. Mum waved her hand dismissively. Gemma was just being dramatic. You know how she gets when she's excited. She called my daughter a test tube baby. And you're going to hold that against her forever. She's your sister. I bounced Esme gently, trying to calm her fussing. What do you really want, Mom? I want my daughters to get along. I want this family to stop tearing itself apart over money. This isn't about money. Of course it is. Everything always comes back to money with you. The fertility treatments, the medical bills, and now this selfishness about the vow renewal. Selfishness? Yes, selfishness. You have more money than you know what to do with, and your sister is asking for help with one special day. One day, Summer. I stared at her. Do you hear yourself right now? I hear a mother trying to keep her family together while one daughter acts like a spoiled child. A spoiled child? My voice rose, and Esme started crying harder. I'm spoiled because I won't pay $60,000 for Gemma's party. It's not just a party, it's a celebration of their marriage, their commitment. Their marriage that she's been complaining about for the last 5 years. The husband she threatens to divorce every time he leaves dishes in the sink. Mum's face flushed. That's not fair. What's not fair is expecting me to bankroll their fake celebration while they mock my dead husband and call my daughter a laboratory mistake. No one mocked Micah. Gemma said I finally got what I wanted, like he was just a means to an end, like his death was just an inconvenience that delayed my baby plans. You're being dramatic. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you all think I should be grateful for the scraps of basic human decency you throw my way. Mum stood up, smoothing down her skirt. Fine, if that's how you want to see it. That's how it is. Then let me be very clear about something. Her voice turned cold, the tone she used to use when I was a teenager who'd broken curfew. This family has bent over backwards for you for years. We've listened to your problems, supported you through your struggles, made allowances for your difficulties. My difficulties? Your fertility issues, your emotional problems, your inability to just accept that some things aren't meant to be. I felt like she'd slapped me. Get out. I'm not finished. Yes, you are. Get out of my house. Summer, listen to me. You have a choice to make here. You can continue this tantrum, or you can do the right thing and help your sister. But if you choose to be selfish, if you choose to put money over family, then don't expect us to keep making excuses for you. What's that supposed to mean? It means there are consequences to your actions. You can't treat your family like garbage and expect us to keep welcoming you with open arms. I looked down at Esme, who had finally stopped crying and was looking up at me with those perfect blue eyes, Micah's eyes. Are you threatening me? I'm telling you the truth. Family is a two-way street, and you've been taking without giving for a very long time. Taking what? Emotional support, time, energy, money. Yes, money. Do you think those rides to doctor appointments were free? Do you think the dinners we bought you after your miscarriages didn't cost anything? The phone calls, the tissues, the shoulders to cry on? You're keeping a tab. I'm keeping track of reality. And the reality is that you owe this family more than you've given. I stood up, holding Esme close. I want you to leave. Now. Fine? Mum walked to the door, then turned back. But think about what I said. Really think about it. Because if you can't find it in your heart to help your sister celebrate her marriage, then maybe you're not the kind of person we thought you were. And what kind of person is that? The kind who puts family first, the kind who understands that love means sacrifice, the kind who deserves to be part of this family. She left me standing there, holding my daughter, with those words echoing in my head like a threat. My phone buzzed with a text from Gemma. Mum told me what you said. Last chance, Summer. Pay for the renewal, or don't bother coming to any more family events. Your choice. I looked down at Esme, who was smiling now, completely oblivious to the fact that her family had just disowned us both. It's okay, baby, I whispered. We don't need them. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed it. I was feeding Esme at 2 a.m. when I found Micah's letter. It had been tucked inside his copy of What to Expect When You're Expecting, a book he'd bought after our first positive pregnancy test, the one that ended in miscarriage at 8 weeks. I'd been avoiding that bookshelf for months, but Esme had been fussy all evening, and I was desperate enough to try reading to her. The envelope had my name written in Micah's careful handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Summer, if you're reading this, then something happened to me before we could welcome our baby together. I'm sorry. I'm so damn sorry I won't be there to see you become the mother I know you'll be. I need you to know something. I've been watching your family for years, And I've seen how they treat you. The comments about the fertility treatments, the way they make you feel guilty for wanting what comes naturally to everyone else, the way they act like your pain is an inconvenience to them. I've set up a trust for our child. The details are with Cassandra. She has all the paperwork. But there's something else, something I need you to know about. Your grandfather's trust fund, the one your parents think they control, they don't. I had Cassandra look into it after that dinner where your mother said you were costing the family too much money. Turns out your grandfather was smarter than any of us realized. He put in a clause, a moral conduct clause. Anyone who shows deliberate cruelty or emotional abuse toward family members forfeits their inheritance, immediately, permanently. The trust has been watching Summer, recording, waiting. I didn't tell you because I hoped they'd come around. I hoped they'd see what I see, that you're the strongest, most loving person I know, and that our child will be lucky to have you. But if they don't, if they keep treating you like you're less than, then they've made their choice. Protect what we built, no matter who tries to break you down. All my love. Micah. P.S. Call Cassandra, she's been waiting to hear from you. I read the letter 3 times before it sank in. Then I called Cassandra. Summer? Her voice was groggy but immediately alert. Is everything okay? Is Esme? I found Micah's letter. Silence. Then, I'll be right over. Cassandra arrived 20 minutes later with a briefcase and 2 cups of coffee from the 20th-hour diner. She'd been my friend since law school, the only person who'd never once suggested I should just adopt or learn to be happy without kids. How long have you known? I asked. About the trust? Since right after Micah died. He made me promise not to tell you unless. She gestured around my living room, taking in the tissues scattered everywhere, the empty wine bottle on the counter. Unless it got bad. How bad is bad? Cassandra opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. The trust has been monitoring your family's behaviour for the past 2 years. Phone calls, text messages, social media posts, witness statements from family gatherings. That's legal? Completely. Your grandfather was paranoid about family members taking advantage of each other. He hired a private investigation firm to monitor compliance with the moral conduct clause. They've been documenting everything. She spread photos across my coffee table, screenshots of text messages, transcripts of phone calls, even video footage from what looked like security cameras. This is from last Sunday's dinner, Cassandra said, pointing to a transcript. Gemma calling Esme a science experiment, your mother saying fertility treatments are unnatural, your father laughing when Gemma called her a test tube baby. I stared at the evidence of my family's cruelty laid out in black and white. What happens now? That's up to you. The trust executors are waiting for your decision. You can choose to overlook their behaviour or you can enforce the clause. They forfeit everything. The inheritance, the trust fund, all of it, permanently. I picked up one of the photos, a screenshot of a group text between Gemma, Mum and Claire, one of Gemma's friends. Gemma, she's being such a bitch about the money. Mum, I don't know what's wrong with her. It's like she thinks she's better than us now. Claire, maybe the fertility drugs messed with her brain? Lol. Gemma, honestly, that baby is probably going to have problems anyway, all those chemicals and procedures. Mum, we should have talked her out of it when Micah died. Some things aren't meant to be. When was this sent? I asked. Yesterday, about an hour after you left their house. I felt sick. While I was at home crying over their ultimatum, they were laughing about my daughter's potential disabilities. There's more, Cassandra said gently. Do you want to see it? I nodded, though part of me wanted to throw the whole folder in the trash and pretend none of this was happening. She showed me months of evidence. Gemma posting on Facebook about some people who think the world owes them everything. Mum telling her book club that I was mentally unstable and probably shouldn't have been allowed to have a baby. Dad agreeing with a neighbour that maybe it's better when nature takes its course. They've been talking about me like this for months. Years, actually, but it got worse after Micah died and much worse after Esme was born. I looked over at my daughter, sleeping peacefully in her bouncer, completely unaware that her own family saw her as a mistake. What's the trust worth? About $12 million. Your grandfather's real estate investments did very well over the years. $12 million. No wonder they wanted me to pay for Gemma's party. They thought they had money coming. If I enforce the clause, what happens to the money? It goes to you and Esme. Your grandfather's will specifies that if family members are disqualified, their share goes to the most morally upstanding remaining heir. I laughed, but it came out bitter. He'd probably roll over in his grave if he knew they were calling his great-granddaughter a science experiment. Actually, Cassandra said, I think he'd be proud of you for fighting for your family, for not giving up. She started packing up the photos. You don't have to decide tonight, but Summer, they've made their choice. They've shown you exactly who they are and how they feel about you and Esme. After she left, I sat in the dark holding my daughter, thinking about choices and consequences and the price of family loyalty. My phone buzzed with another text from Gemma. "Tick-tock, sister. Decision time." I looked down at Esme, at Micah's eyes in her perfect little face, and made my choice. I texted Cassandra. Set up a meeting. It's time they learned about consequences. The text I sent was simple. Family meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Cassandra's office. We need to discuss the money situation. Gemma called within minutes. Finally, I knew you'd come to your senses. Her voice was practically singing. I've already put a deposit down on the venue. The country club had a cancellation for October. Can you believe it? It's like fate. We'll discuss everything tomorrow. Oh, come on, don't be so mysterious. Just tell me, are you going to cover the whole thing, or do you want to split it with Mom and Dad? Because honestly, they don't have nearly as much as you do now. I hung up without answering. Dad called next. Summer, sweetheart, I'm so glad you're being reasonable about this. Your mother was worried you were going to do something rash. I'll see you tomorrow, Dad. Should we bring anything? Checkbooks? I mean, I know we're not contributing much, but we want to help however we can. Just bring yourselves. The last call was from Mom. I hope you've thought about what I said, about family, about what really matters. I have. Good, because at the end of the day, blood is thicker than water. We're all you have, Summer, you and that baby. I looked down at Esme, who was making soft cooing sounds in her bouncer. We'll see. That evening, I called my neighbour Mrs. Patterson to ask if she could watch Esme during the meeting. She was a sweet woman in her 70s who'd been bringing me casseroles since Micah died. Of course, dear. Is everything all right? Just some family business to sort out. Well, you know what they say about family. She chuckled. You can't choose them, but you can choose how much you let them hurt you. If only she knew. The next morning, I got ready like I was going to war. Black suit, hair pulled back, minimal makeup, professional, untouchable. I wanted to look like someone who meant business. Cassandra had prepared everything. The conference room at her law firm was set up with a long table, chairs arranged so my family would be facing us across the polished wood surface. She'd laid out folders at each seat, thick manila envelopes that looked official and intimidating. You sure about this? She asked as we waited. They made their choice. I'm just making mine. They arrived together, chattering excitedly. I could hear them through the glass doors, Gemma talking about flower arrangements, Mom discussing catering options, Dad asking about parking validation. "Summer!" Gemma burst through the door first, arms outstretched like we were long-lost friends. "I'm so excited we're finally doing this. I brought pictures of the venue, and oh my God, you're going to die when you see the ballroom." She stopped short when she saw Cassandra sitting at the head of the table in her lawyer suit, briefcase open, legal pads arranged in front of her. "Why is Cassandra here?" Mum asked, settling into her chair with obvious discomfort. "She's here in a professional capacity," I said. "Professional?" Dad looked confused. "I thought this was just family talking about family business." "It is family business," Cassandra said smoothly. "Please have a seat. We have quite a bit to cover." Gemma sat down reluctantly, eyeing the folders. "What's all this paperwork? I thought we were just talking about writing a check." "We are talking about money," I said, "just not the way you think." "What's that supposed to mean?" Mum's voice had that edge it got when she sensed trouble. Cassandra opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick document. "We're here to discuss the Douglas Family Trust, specifically the moral conduct clause established by Summer's grandfather." The room went dead silent. Dad's face went pale. Mum's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Only Gemma looked confused. "What moral conduct clause?" Gemma asked. "And what does Grandpa's old trust have to do with my vow renewal?" "Everything," Cassandra said, "because as of today, you've all been found in violation of that clause." "That's impossible," Mum said. "We don't even have access to that trust yet. It doesn't activate until—" She stopped, realizing what she'd just admitted. "Until I die," Dad finished quietly. "We don't get the money until I die." "Actually," Cassandra said, "you don't get the money at all, not anymore." Gemma laughed, but it sounded forced. "This is ridiculous. What are you talking about, violation? We haven't done anything wrong." Cassandra opened the first folder and began reading. Text message from Gemma to Ingrid, dated 3 days ago. "Honestly, that baby is probably going to have problems anyway. All those chemicals and procedures." Gemma's face went white. "Phone conversation between Ingrid and book club member Patricia, recorded 2 weeks ago. Summer is mentally unstable and probably shouldn't have been allowed to have a baby." Mum started to stand up. "You can't record private conversations." "Actually, we can. The Trust has been monitoring compliance with the Moral Conduct Clause for 2 years. It's all perfectly legal, and you were all informed of the monitoring in the original Trust documents." What monitoring?" Dad asked weakly. "The private investigation firm your father hired to ensure family members weren't emotionally abusing each other. They've documented extensive evidence of deliberate cruelty towards Summer and her child." Cassandra spread photos across the table, screenshots of text messages, transcripts of phone calls, even video footage from family gatherings. "This is from last Sunday's dinner," she said, pointing to a transcript. "Multiple instances of calling a 3-month-old baby a science experiment and test tube baby." Gemma was staring at the evidence like it might bite her. "You've been spying on us." "The Trust has been protecting its beneficiaries," Cassandra corrected, "which brings us to why we're here today." She pulled out another document, this one with official seals and signatures. "As of 9 a.m. this morning, Gemma, Ingrid and Edward have been permanently disqualified from receiving any inheritance from the Douglas Family Trust. All assets, approximately $12 million, now belong to Summer and her daughter Esme." The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear the air conditioning humming, cars passing on the street outside, my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then Gemma exploded. "This is insane! You can't do this! We're family!" Yes," I said quietly. "We are, and this is how you treated your family." "You're lying," Gemma said, her voice shaking. "This is some kind of sick joke." Cassandra slid a certified document across the table. The trust executors filed the paperwork this morning. It's already been processed through probate court. Dad picked up the document with trembling hands. $12 million? Grandpa's real estate investments, I said. Apparently, he was better with money than any of us knew. This can't be legal, Mum said, but her voice lacked conviction. You can't just take away someone's inheritance because of family disagreements. Family disagreements? Cassandra pulled out another folder. Let me read you some more evidence. Gemma, Facebook post from last month. Some people think the world owes them everything just because they can't have kids naturally. That wasn't about Summer. It was posted 2 hours after Summer called to tell you she was pregnant. Gemma's mouth opened and closed silently. Edward, conversation with neighbour Jim recorded 6 weeks ago. Maybe it's better when nature takes its course. Some people aren't meant to be parents. Dad's face crumpled. I didn't mean... And Ingrid, Cassandra continued relentlessly, multiple instances of referring to Summer as emotionally unstable, selfish, and a burden on the family. Most recently, telling your book club that Summer's fertility treatments were unnatural and that the baby would probably have problems. Stop, Mum whispered. Should I read the text messages where you all laughed about Summer's miscarriages? Or the ones where you called Esme a science experiment? We were venting, Gemma exploded. Everyone vents about family. That doesn't mean we don't love her. Love, I finally spoke, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. Is that what you call it? Yes, we love you, Summer. We've always loved you. We supported you through everything. You supported me? I stood up, placing my hands flat on the table. When you told me I should give up after my 3rd miscarriage? When you said Micah's death was a sign I should stop trying? When you called my daughter a test tube baby at Sunday dinner? We were trying to protect you. From what? From more disappointment, from wasting your life chasing something that might never happen. But it did happen. I have a daughter, a beautiful, healthy daughter, and instead of celebrating with me, you mocked her. You called her unnatural. You said she'd probably have problems because of how she was conceived. Tears were streaming down Gemma's face now. I didn't mean it. I was jealous, okay? You got everything you wanted, and I got everything I wanted. My voice rose. My husband is dead, Gemma. The love of my life is gone, and I'm raising our daughter alone, while you complain that I won't pay for your party. It's not just a party. Then what is it? It's... She struggled for words. It's supposed to be my special day. Your special day, right? I sat back down, suddenly exhausted. And what about my special days? What about when I finally got pregnant after 8 years of trying? What about when I gave birth to the daughter I thought I'd never have? Were those special days worth celebrating? Silence. Because I remember what you said when I called to tell you I was pregnant. Well, I hope it works out this time. That's it. No congratulations, no excitement, just doubt. Summer, Dad tried to interrupt. And when Esme was born, you know what Mum said? I hope she's normal. Not congratulations or she's beautiful. Just worry that my science experiment baby might be defective. Mum was crying now too. I was scared for you. I didn't want you to get hurt again. So you hurt me instead. We didn't mean to hurt you, Dad said quietly. We wanted what was best for you. What was best for me, or what was easiest for you? Cassandra cleared her throat. The trust's position is clear. The moral conduct clause was violated repeatedly and deliberately. The disqualification is permanent. There has to be something we can do, Gemma said desperately. An appeal process, or... There isn't. We'll contest it in court. With what money? Cassandra asked. Legal fees for a case like this would run into the hundreds of thousands, and you'd lose. We'll get a loan. Oh, against what collateral? Your house is mortgaged, your credit cards are maxed out, and your husband's business is barely breaking even." Gemma stared at her. "How do you know about our finances?" The trust investigators were thorough. They needed to understand the family dynamics, including financial motivations for behavior. "You investigated us?" "The trust investigated everyone, including Summer." "And what did you find about Summer?" Mum asked, grasping for anything that might shift the blame. Cassandra smiled. "That she's been financially supporting extended family members for years without telling anyone, paying for her cousin's college tuition, helping her aunt with medical bills, sending money to her uncle when his business was struggling, all while going through fertility treatments and dealing with her own financial stress. I felt my cheeks burn. I'd never wanted anyone to know about that." "She's been giving away money while we—" Dad trailed off. "While you were keeping score of every dollar you spent on her," Cassandra finished. "Yes." The room fell silent again. Gemma was staring at the table, tears dripping onto the legal documents. Mum had her face in her hands. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years in the last hour. "So what happens now?" Gemma asked finally. "Now you live with the consequences of your choices," I said. "Summer, please." Mum looked up, her makeup streaked with tears. "We're family. We made mistakes, but we're still family." "Are we?" "Because family doesn't treat each other the way you've treated me. Family doesn't mock a grieving widow. Family doesn't call a baby a science experiment." "We can change," Dad said desperately. "We can do better." "It's too late for that." "It's never too late." Gemma slammed her hand on the table. "You can't just throw us away like garbage." I looked at her, really looked at her, this woman who'd shared a womb with me, who'd been my best friend for the first 20 years of my life. "I'm not throwing you away," I said quietly. "You threw me away first. You threw away my pain, my grief, my joy, my daughter. You threw it all away because it was inconvenient for you." "That's not true." "Isn't it?" The silence stretched between us like a chasm that could never be crossed. Cassandra began packing up her files. "The meeting is over. The trust decision is final." As they filed out, broken and defeated, Gemma turned back one last time. "You'll regret this, Summer. That baby is going to grow up with no family except you. She'll be alone." "No," I said. "She'll be loved. That's more than I can say for how I grew up." The door closed behind them with a soft click, leaving me alone with Cassandra and the weight of what I'd just done. I was halfway to my car when I heard footsteps running behind me. "Summer! Summer, wait!" I turned to see Gemma rushing across the parking lot, her heels clicking frantically on the asphalt. Her mascara was smeared, her hair dishevelled, and she looked desperate. "Please, just listen to me for 1 minute." "There's nothing left to say." "Yes, there is." She grabbed my arm. "You can't do this. You can't destroy our entire family over some stupid comments." I pulled my arm free. "Stupid comments? Is that what you're calling it now? We were upset. We said things we didn't mean. Haven't you ever said something you regretted when you were angry?" "Not about someone's child. Not about someone's dead husband." "We never said anything about Micah." "You said I finally got what I wanted, like he was just a sperm donor, like his death was just an inconvenience that delayed my baby plans." Gemma's face crumpled. "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" I meant that you got your happy ending, your baby, the thing you wanted more than anything. My happy ending." I stared at her. "My husband is dead, Gemma. I'm raising our daughter alone. I cry myself to sleep most nights because Micah will never see her first steps or hear her first words. Where exactly is the happy ending in that?" "But you have her. You have Esme." "Yes, I have her. And instead of being happy for me, instead of celebrating the miracle that she exists at all, you called her a science experiment." "I was jealous." The words burst out of her like a confession. "Okay, I was jealous and bitter, and I said horrible things because I couldn't stand that you got something I couldn't give you." "What are you talking about?" "Support, encouragement, the kind of sister you deserved." She was crying again, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. "You went through hell for 8 years, and instead of being there for you, I made it worse. I made everything about me and my perfect fertility and my easy pregnancies." I felt something crack inside my chest, but I pushed it down. "So you knew you were hurting me." "Yes, and I hated myself for it, but I couldn't stop. Every time you got pregnant, I was terrified you'd finally have what I had, and I wouldn't be special anymore." Special? The daughter who gave Mum and Dad grandchildren, the one who did everything right, the one who didn't cost the family money or cause drama or need constant emotional support. "So you made sure I kept needing it." She nodded miserably. "And now I've lost everything. The money, my family, my sister. Tyrell is talking about leaving me. He says he can't be married to someone so cruel." "Maybe you should have thought about that before you called my daughter a test tube baby." I know I screwed up. But Summer, please, you have to understand. I can't lose everything. The house, the kids' schools, everything we've built. Everything you built on the assumption that you'd inherit Grandpa's money. Yes, we made decisions based on that money. We have debts, obligations. That's not my problem. It is your problem. We're family. When one of us suffers, we all suffer. I laughed, but there was no humour in it. Where was that philosophy when I was suffering? When I was going through miscarriage after miscarriage while you complained about morning sickness? When I was burying my husband while you planned your anniversary party? That's different. How? Because... She struggled for words. Because you chose your suffering. You chose to keep trying, to keep putting yourself through those treatments. I chose to try to have a family. You chose to be cruel about it. We can fix this. We can go to therapy, work on our relationship. No. Summer, please. No. My voice echoed across the parking lot. You don't get to hurt me for years and then demand forgiveness when there are consequences. You don't get to call my daughter a science experiment and then cry about losing money you never earned. She's my niece. She's a child you've shown nothing but contempt for since the day she was born. I can change. I can be better. Maybe you can, but not with me, not with us. Gemma fell to her knees on the asphalt, actually fell to her knees like something out of a soap opera. I'm begging you. I'm literally begging you. Don't do this. Get up, Gemma. Not until you promise to fix this. Get up. You're embarrassing yourself. I don't care. I'll stay here all day if I have to. A few people walking to their cars had stopped to stare. I felt my cheeks burn with second-hand embarrassment. This is exactly what I'm talking about, I said. Everything is a performance with you. Even your apology is about making a scene and manipulating me into feeling sorry for you. That's not. It is. You're not sorry you hurt me. You're sorry there are consequences. I walked toward my car, leaving her kneeling on the ground. Your daughter will hate you for this, she screamed after me. When she grows up and finds out you destroyed her family over petty grudges, she'll hate you. I stopped and turned back. My daughter will grow up knowing that actions have consequences. She'll know that being family doesn't give you the right to be cruel. And she'll know that her mother loved her enough to protect her from people who saw her as less than human. We never. You called her a science experiment, Gemma. You said she'd probably have problems because of how she was conceived. You laughed about it with Mom and Claire. That's not love. That's not family. That's cruelty. I got in my car and drove away, leaving my sister crying in the parking lot of a law office, surrounded by strangers and the wreckage of her own choices. My phone started ringing before I'd even left the parking garage. Mum, Dad, Gemma, numbers I didn't recognise. I turned it off and drove home in silence, thinking about consequences and choices and the price of protecting the people you love. When I got home, Mrs. Patterson was rocking Esme on my front porch, both of them looking peaceful in the afternoon sun. "How did it go, dear?" she asked. I looked down at my daughter, at her perfect little face and Micah's blue eyes, and felt something settle in my chest. It went exactly how it needed to go. The first card arrived on Esme's first birthday. No return address, but I recognised Gemma's handwriting immediately. Inside was a simple birthday card with a $20 bill taped to it and a note. For Esme. I think about her every day. I threw it away without opening the envelope further. The second card came at Christmas, this time from Mum. "We miss you both. The house feels empty during the holidays." That one went in the trash too. By Valentine's Day, I'd received cards from Dad, texts from extended family members I hadn't heard from in years, and even a letter from Tyrell explaining that he'd left Gemma and wanted me to know that he was sorry for not speaking up sooner. I ignored them all. "You're really not going to respond to any of them?" Cassandra asked during one of our monthly coffee dates. Esme was in her high chair, cheerfully throwing Cheerios on the floor while we talked. What would be the point? Closure, maybe? Forgiveness? I've already forgiven them. Have you? I looked at her. I'm not angry anymore, if that's what you're asking. I don't spend my days plotting revenge or wishing bad things would happen to them. But forgiveness doesn't mean I have to let them back into our lives. The trust investigators filed their final report last week, Cassandra said. Want to know what they found? Do I want to know? Oh, Gemma and Tyrell lost the house. They're renting a small apartment across town. She's working at a department store and he's driving for a rideshare company. I felt a small pang of something, not quite guilt, but not satisfaction either. And my parents? Downsized to a condo. Your dad had to come out of retirement. They're struggling, financially and socially. Word got around about what happened. How? Claire, apparently. She was at the family gathering where Gemma broke down and told everyone about the trust. Claire posted about it on social media, and it spread from there. I winced. I hadn't wanted their humiliation to be public, but I couldn't say I was surprised. Drama like this had a way of getting out in small communities. There's something else, Cassandra said. Your cousin Rachel reached out. She wants to thank you. Thank me? For the college tuition you paid for. She graduated last month with honours, got into medical school. I'd forgotten about Rachel. She was my uncle's daughter, a sweet kid who'd been struggling to afford school. I'd been sending money anonymously for 3 years. She figured it out. The trust investigators mentioned it in their report. Apparently, you've been helping a lot of people over the years. Rachel, your aunt's medical bills, your uncle's business loan. That was private. I know, but Rachel wants to meet Esme. She says she wants to be the kind of family member you deserve to have. The next week, Rachel came over for dinner. She was 23 now, confident and bright, with plans to specialise in fertility medicine. I want to help other women like you, she said, holding Esme while I cooked. Women who are told they should give up, that they are asking for too much. It's not an easy field. Neither was getting through school while my parents were fighting about money, and my cousins were... She trailed off. It's okay, you can say it. While they were being awful to you, I heard the things they said at family gatherings. I should have spoken up. You were a kid. I was old enough to know right from wrong. Esme reached up and grabbed Rachel's necklace, babbling happily. She was walking now, getting into everything, filling our house with laughter and chaos. She's beautiful, Rachel said. She looks like the pictures I've seen of Micah. She has his eyes and his stubborn streak. Good, she'll need it. That evening, after Rachel left, I sat on the floor playing with Esme and thinking about family. The one you're born into, and the one you choose. My daughter would grow up knowing her cousin Rachel, who'd fought her way through medical school and wanted to help other women have the families they dreamed of. She'd know Mrs. Patterson, who brought us soup when we were sick and taught Esme to plant flowers in our garden. She'd know Cassandra, who'd protected us when we needed protecting and celebrated every milestone with genuine joy. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Gemma. I know you won't respond, but I need you to know that I'm getting help, real help, therapy. I'm trying to understand why I was so cruel to you. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know that I'm trying to become someone worthy of being Esme's aunt someday, even if that day never comes." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it without responding. But I didn't block the number. Esme pulled herself up using the coffee table and took 3 wobbly steps toward me, arms outstretched, face bright with triumph. "Mama," she said clearly, her first real word. I caught her as she tumbled into my arms, both of us laughing. "That's right, baby girl. Mama's here." Outside, it was starting to rain, but inside our house, our home, everything was warm and bright and exactly as it should be. We had each other. We had people who truly loved us, and we had a future built on truth instead of obligation. Some families are born from blood, others are born from choice. I chose mine, and I chose well.
The roses were wrong. That should have been my first warning. Their scent too sweet, too cloying, like perfume masking decay. But I was floating in that dreamy pre-wedding haze where everything feels symbolic and meaningful, even the way the morning light caught my engagement ring and scattered tiny rainbows across the dressing room wall. "You look perfect, Solstice," Ava whispered, adjusting my veil with trembling fingers. Her voice had an odd catch to it, but I chalked it up to emotion. That's what best friends do at weddings, right? They cry and fuss and make everything feel more momentous. I smoothed down the front of my dress, the silk cool against my palms. 6 months of planning had led to this moment. 6 months of Mark's gentle teasing about my spreadsheets and timelines, his blue eyes crinkling at the corners as he called me his beautiful control freak. The door burst open and my sister Ava tumbled in, already dabbing at her eyes. The flowers are all set up, the string quartet is tuning, and, oh my God, look at you. She wrapped me in a careful hug, mindful of my hair and makeup. Mark's not going to know what hit him. If only she knew how prophetic those words would turn out to be. The ceremony started exactly on schedule naturally. I'd timed it down to the minute. The late October sun streamed through stained glass, painting everything in jewel tones. Mark waited at the altar, looking devastating in his tux, and for a moment my heart actually skipped. This was it. This was my happily ever after, my proof that love could last, that not everyone was like my father. I should have known better. I made it through most of my vows, voice steady despite the emotion threatening to choke me. Mark's eyes never left mine as he promised to love, honor, cherish. His words were perfect, practiced. The minister had just asked if anyone had cause to object when the chapel doors slammed open. "I object." The voice rang out clear and cold as winter. A woman in a red dress stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the autumn afternoon. "I object because the groom is still legally married." To me, the silence that followed was absolute. I turned to Mark, waiting for him to laugh, to explain that this was some horrible mistake. But his face had gone slack with shock, then tight with guilt. In that moment, I knew. My stomach dropped as if I'd missed a step in the dark. "Savannah," he breathed, and that single word, that name I'd never heard before, contained volumes of history and secrets. The woman, Savannah, strode down the aisle, her heels clicking against marble like gunshots. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? That you could just start over with your pretty new bride while our divorce was still pending? Murmurs rippled through the guests. I felt their stares like physical touches, their pity and horror pressing against my skin. My vision tunneled until all I could see was Mark's face, watching him struggle to find words. I can explain, he started, reaching for my hand. I jerked away. Don't. My voice came out surprisingly steady. Don't touch me. From the corner of my eye, I saw Ava shift uncomfortably, her hands twisting the bouquet she held. Something about her posture, her careful stillness, sent a second wave of nausea through me. She knew, my best friend, my maid of honor. She'd known. The realization hit me like a physical blow, but I refused to crumple, refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. Instead, I felt something crystallize inside me, hard and sharp and cold. I turned to face our guests, my smile as brittle as frozen glass. I'm so sorry, everyone. It seems there's been a terrible mistake. Please enjoy the reception. The food and wine are already paid for. Consider it a very expensive party. Scattered, nervous laughter. More whispers. I walked down the aisle with my head high, past Savannah with her triumphant smirk, past the shocked faces of friends and family. My heels clicked against marble in perfect rhythm, counting down steps to freedom. It wasn't until I reached the chapel doors that I allowed myself one glance back. Mark stood frozen at the altar, mouth still working silently. Ava wouldn't meet my eyes. And there in the front row, my father watched with an expression I recognized all too well, the same look he'd worn when my mother discovered his affairs. I pushed through the heavy doors into autumn sunshine that suddenly felt too bright, too harsh. My carefully constructed future lay in ruins behind me, but something else was rising from the ashes, something that tasted like rage and promise and possibility. They thought they knew me, sweet, organized solstice who always colored inside the lines. They had no idea what I was capable of, but they were about to find out. I smiled, and this time there was nothing brittle about it. The October wind bit through my wedding dress as I stood on the hotel balcony, watching guests trickle out of the reception I'd never attended. My phone buzzed constantly. Messages from Ava, from Christian, from what felt like everyone except the two people I most wanted to hear from. And wasn't that telling? I'd been up here for hours, letting the cold numb everything until my thoughts finally started making sense. The sun had set, leaving me in twilight, surrounded by the potted mums I'd chosen to match our autumn theme. Everything perfectly coordinated, perfectly planned. What a joke. The sliding door whispered open behind me. Saul, Ava's voice tentative. You're going to freeze out here. I didn't turn around. How long did you know? Silence stretched between us, thick with unspoken things. Finally, she sighed. I found out 3 weeks ago. I wanted to tell you, but 3 weeks. The words came out sharp as icicles. 3 weeks of dress fittings and flower arrangements, and you just, what? Decided to let me walk down that aisle anyway? It wasn't that simple. She moved closer, and I could smell her perfume, the same scent she'd worn since college, when we'd shared everything. Mark came to me when Savannah first contacted him. He said he was handling it, that the divorce would be finalized before the wedding. He seemed so sincere, Saul. And then, when things got complicated, my laugh sounded foreign to my own ears. Let me guess, he convinced you it would hurt me more to know, that it was kinder to keep me in the dark. Something like that. Her voice had gone small. He can be very persuasive when he wants to be. I finally turned to face her. Ava stood huddled in her bridesmaid's dress, mascara smudged beneath her eyes. For a moment I saw us as we used to be. Two girls sharing secrets and dreams, swearing nothing would ever come between us. The memory made what I had to say next harder. Did you sleep with him? She flinched as if I'd slapped her. What? No. God, Sewell, I would never. But you knew he was sleeping with someone else, besides Savannah. The way she froze told me everything. How did you... The bartender at the rehearsal dinner, the one who kept giving me these pitying looks. She pulled me aside earlier. Apparently Mark's been bringing different women there for months. She recognized him from the engagement photos I'd posted everywhere. Ava pressed her hands to her face. I'm so sorry. I should have... Should have what? Been my friend? Told me the truth? Protected me from making the biggest mistake of my life? Each question landed like a blow. Instead, you helped him, covered for him. God, all those times you encouraged me to trust the process when I worried about wedding details. You were just buying him time, weren't you? I thought I was helping. She reached for my arm, but I stepped back. You were so happy, so excited about the wedding. And after everything with your dad, I couldn't be the one to ruin that for you. The mention of my father cracked something open inside me. You know what the worst part is? When I saw Savannah standing there in the chapel, my first thought wasn't even about Mark. It was wondering if you knew, if my best friend had betrayed me too. Sewell, please, don't. I moved past her toward the door, then paused. You know what's funny? All those years watching my mom try to forgive my dad, I swore I'd never be that person. Never be the one who didn't see it coming. Turns out I was right. I'm actually worse. At least she didn't have her best friend helping him lie to her. I stepped inside, leaving Ava on the balcony. The hotel room was a mess of wedding preparations. My overnight bag, makeup scattered across the vanity, the wedding planner I'd filled with color-coded tabs and detailed timelines. A life I'd planned down to the minute, built on foundations of sand. My phone buzzed again. A text from Braxton, my co-worker. Just heard. Need anything? Below it was a message from Mark. Please let me explain. Meet me at our spot tomorrow? I stared at the screen until the words blurred. The smart thing would be to walk away. Delete their numbers, change my locks, start fresh. That's what my therapist June would advise. She'd been warning me about my trust issues for months. But as I stood there, surrounded by the wreckage of my almost marriage, a different path started taking shape. One that would require precision planning, careful manipulation, and a complete willingness to burn everything to the ground. I picked up my wedding planner and opened to a blank page. Time to start a new list. The coffee shop's morning rush swirled around me as I traced my finger along the rim of my third espresso. My laptop screen glowed with open tabs. Mark's social media, his company's website, every digital breadcrumb I could follow. Amazing how much of your life ends up online when you're not expecting anyone to look too closely. Mind if I join you? I looked up to find Braxton holding his own coffee, expression carefully neutral. Of course he'd know I'd be here. It was 2 blocks from our office, and I was supposed to be on my honeymoon. The empty chair across from me seemed to mock us both. Sure, I said, closing my laptop. Though I should warn you, I'm apparently toxic right now. Eva told me half the office is taking sides. He settled into the chair, pushing a paper bag toward me. Blueberry scone, and the office isn't taking sides. They're just processing. Like how Mark's assistant processed right out of her job this morning. The news had hit my inbox an hour ago. Her resignation effective immediately. Another piece of the puzzle clicking into place. Braxton's eyes narrowed slightly. How did you know about that? I have my sources. I didn't mention that those sources included the IT guy who owed me a favor, or the encrypted emails I'd found. Same way I know about the missing client funds Mark's been trying to cover up. Solstice? Braxton's voice dropped lower. Whatever you're thinking of doing, I'm not thinking of doing anything. I took a deliberate sip of coffee. I'm just gathering information, like how Mark's been embezzling money through fake vendor accounts, or how Ava helped him doctor the books when she did our company's audit last quarter. The color drained from Braxton's face. How long have you known? About the embezzlement? Since this morning? About Ava's involvement? I smiled, and it felt like breaking glass. That's brand new, thanks to your reaction just now. He ran a hand through his hair, shoulders slumping. Look, I only suspected something was off with the numbers. I never had proof, and by the time I started putting pieces together, you were already engaged. And you didn't want to be the bearer of bad news? The bitter taste in my mouth had nothing to do with coffee. You know, I'm getting really tired of people making decisions about what I can't handle. That's not fair. No. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to the photos I'd found buried in Mark's cloud storage. These are from his trip to Aspen 3 months ago. Funny how he told me it was a business retreat, but all the pictures are him and his assistant looking very unbusinesslike. Braxton's expression shifted from defensive to concerned. Sol, what exactly are you planning to do with all this? Nothing illegal. I started gathering my things, just making sure I understand exactly what kind of man I almost married and exactly who helped him fool me. Wait. His hand caught my wrist as I stood. I know you're hurt. You have every right to be, but revenge won't make it better. I looked down at where his fingers pressed against my pulse point, remembering how many times we'd worked late together, how many coffee runs and shared lunches, how many opportunities he'd had to warn me. You know what's interesting? I kept my voice light. Everyone keeps telling me how I feel, what I should do, what's best for me, but nobody's asked what I want. Okay. He released my wrist, sat back. What do you want, Solstice? The question hit harder than I expected. What did I want? To hurt them like they hurt me? To expose every lie, every betrayal? To prove I wasn't as naive as they all thought? I want the truth, I finally said. All of it. And then I want everyone involved to face consequences for their choices, including me. Including you? I ignored red flags, dismissed warnings, chose comfortable lies over uncomfortable questions. I shouldered my bag. But at least I can own my mistakes. Can they say the same? He was quiet for a long moment. The assistant, Rachel, she didn't quit. She's going to the FBI with evidence. My heart stuttered. How do you know? Because I helped her gather it. He pulled out a USB drive, set it on the table between us. Everything's here. The fake accounts, the wire transfers, the altered records. She's meeting with them tomorrow morning. I stared at the tiny device that could destroy everything. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know the whole truth. And because whatever you decide to do next, he stood, meeting my eyes steadily. I want you to understand exactly what you're walking into. I picked up the drive, its weight insignificant compared to the choices it represented. The cafe's warmth suddenly felt stifling. Thank you, I said, and meant it, for finally letting me decide for myself. I left him there, mind already racing with possibilities. The game had changed, but maybe that's exactly what I needed. Savannah's house was exactly what I'd expected. Modern, minimalist, expensive, the kind of place that screamed successful lawyer without saying a word. What I hadn't expected was her opening the door with red-rimmed eyes and a half-empty wine glass. You've got nerve showing up here, she said, but stepped aside to let me in. I moved past her into a living room bathed in afternoon light. No wedding photos, I noticed. No evidence Mark had ever lived here. Just clean lines and abstract art that probably cost more than my car. I brought something you might want to see. I pulled out the USB drive, set it on her glass coffee table. Though I'm guessing you already know about the embezzlement. She went very still. How did you? The same way I found out about the pregnancy. The wine glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the hardwood. Red liquid spread like blood between us. He told you? He didn't have to. I kept my voice steady despite my racing heart. Your medical records were in his email, along with the messages about the procedure he insisted you get 2 months ago. Savannah sank onto the couch, hands trembling. I never wanted. He said it would ruin everything, that the timing was wrong. The timing? I couldn't help the bitter laugh. You mean because he was planning to marry me? No. She looked up, eyes sharp despite the wine. Because the FBI was closing in. A baby would have complicated his exit strategy. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. The wedding was his alibi, a respectable new wife, a fresh start, a way to look innocent when everything fell apart. And I was the loose end he needed to tie up. She gestured at the USB drive. What's on that? Everything. Account numbers, transfer records, emails. Enough to bury him. Your name's all over it, too. Fear flickered across her face. I never touched the money. Any paperwork with my signature was forged. I know. I sat across from her, careful to avoid the spreading wine stain. That's why I'm here. The FBI is moving tomorrow morning. You need to get ahead of it. Why are you helping me? Suspicion crept into her voice. I ruined your wedding. No, you saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. And now? I met her gaze steadily. Now I want to return the favor. She studied me for a long moment. There's more. What aren't you telling me? Ava, my former maid of honor. She's involved. She helped cover up the embezzlement during audits, and I swallowed hard. I think she and Mark were planning something bigger, something that would have left us both taking the fall. Savannah reached for the USB drive, turning it over in her hands. You know, when I first found out about you, I hated you. Thought you were just another foolish woman he'd charmed. But you're not what I expected. Neither are you. I stood, stepping carefully around the spilled wine. The FBI agent's name is Torres. Tell him everything. And Savannah, I'm sorry about the baby. Her laugh was hollow. Me too. Though maybe it's better this way. One less person for Mark to destroy. I was almost to the door when she called after me. What are you going to do now? Now? I thought of the second copy of the USB drive in my bag, of the carefully worded emails I'd sent that morning. Now I'm going to make sure everyone pays for their choices, including Mark. Be careful, she warned. He's more dangerous than you know. So am I. Outside, the autumn air felt cleaner somehow. My phone buzzed, a text from Ava asking if I was okay. Below it was a message from June reminding me about our appointment tomorrow. And there, at the bottom, was Mark. Missing you. Can we talk? I typed out a response before I could second-guess myself. Actually, yes. Let's meet tomorrow. There's something I need to tell you. His reply came instantly. Our usual spot? Noon? Perfect, I wrote back, then added, I think it's time we were honest with each other. The irony of those words made me smile as I walked to my car. In my bag, the second USB drive felt like a live wire, crackling with potential energy. Tomorrow, Mark would learn exactly how honest I could be. My phone buzzed again. Braxton this time. Rachel just finished her FBI interview. You sure about this? I thought of Savannah's trembling hands, of Ava's betrayal, of all the women Mark had used and discarded. Absolutely sure, I replied. Everything's going according to plan. But as I drove home, Savannah's warning echoed in my head. Mark was dangerous. The question was, had I finally become dangerous enough to match him? June's office always smelled like lavender and old books, a combination that usually calmed me. Today, it just made my stomach churn as I perched on the familiar leather couch, watching her read through the printouts I'd brought. This is, she paused, adjusting her glasses. This is quite extensive, Solstice. I've been busy. I picked at a loose thread on my sleeve. Turns out insomnia is great for investigative work. I can see that. She set the papers aside, fixing me with that steady gaze I'd come to both appreciate and dread. What concerns me is how much energy you're putting into this revenge plan instead of processing your trauma. I am processing it. I gestured at the papers. By doing something about it. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're avoiding the pain by focusing on action. On control. The word hit like a slap. Control. Wasn't that what had gotten me into this mess? My desperate need to believe I could manage everything, predict everything, protect myself from exactly this kind of betrayal? Maybe I'm tired of being the one who gets hurt, I said finally. Maybe I want them to understand what it feels like. And what about what it feels like for you, right now? She leaned forward slightly. When was the last time you actually let yourself feel the grief of what happened? My phone buzzed. Another message from Mark about our upcoming meeting. I ignored it, but June noticed. Still in contact with him? It's necessary for the plan. Is it? Or is it a way to maintain connection, even a painful one? I stood abruptly, moving to the window. Outside, leaves skittered across the parking lot, red and gold and dying. You don't understand. This isn't just about the wedding anymore. Mark and Ava, they've hurt other people. They're still hurting people. Someone has to stop them. And that someone has to be you? Yes. The force of my own response startled me, because everyone else who knew just stood by and watched. They all had their reasons, their excuses, but they watched him destroy lives and did nothing. Like your mother's friends did with your father? The parallel hit hard enough to make me grip the windowsill. That's different. Is it? Her voice was gentle. Or are you trying to fight a battle you couldn't win as a child? Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Braxton. Emergency. Mark knows about Rachel's FBI interview. He's cleaning out accounts now. My hands started shaking. I have to go. Solstice? No, I really have to go. Right now. I grabbed my bag, already pulling up my banking app. Mark's making his move early. June stood, concern etching her features. Whatever you're planning, please be careful. Revenge might feel like justice, but it can consume you if you're not careful. I paused at the door, thinking of the elaborate trap I'd set, of all the carefully placed pieces ready to fall. What if I'm already consumed? Then ask yourself what's left when the fire burns out. She moved to her desk, wrote something quickly. This is my personal number. Call me anytime. Promise me. I took the paper, folded it carefully into my wallet. I promise. And June, thank you for everything. Outside, my phone exploded with notifications. Braxton had sent screenshots of account transfers. Eva was calling. Even Ava had texted. We need to talk. It's urgent. I got in my car, hands steady now, as I pulled up Mark's contact. His smiling profile picture stared back at me. The same one from our engagement photos. The same lie. Change of plans, I typed. Meet me now, usual spot. His response came instantly. Can't. Dealing with work emergency. I know about the accounts, Mark. All of them. Meet me now or I call the FBI myself. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, 30 minutes. I started the car, mind racing. Everything was accelerating, spinning faster than I'd planned. June's words echoed in my head. What's left when the fire burns out? My phone buzzed one more time. Savannah. Be careful. He's cornered now. That makes him dangerous. I looked at myself in the rearview mirror. barely recognizing the woman who stared back. Her eyes were harder, her smile sharper. She looked dangerous, too. "I know," I texted back. Then I pulled out into traffic, heading toward the coffee shop where Mark had proposed, where he'd first woven his web of lies, where in 30 minutes everything would either fall into place or fall apart completely. Either way, there was no turning back now. The coffee shop windows reflected twin versions of reality: the warm interior where Mark waited, and the gray storm clouds gathering outside. I stood in the space between, watching him check his phone every 30 seconds, his usual composure cracking around the edges. Thunder rumbled as I pushed open the door. The same barista who'd warned me about Mark's infidelity gave me a concerned look, but I kept walking. Mark's head snapped up, relief washing over his features before he caught himself. "Solstice." He stood, pulling out a chair. Always the gentleman, even now. "I was worried you—" "Save it." I sat across from him, placing my phone on the table, recording app running. "Where's the money, Mark?" His smile flickered. "What money?" "The client accounts, the ones you've been draining all morning." I pulled out printed screenshots, spread them across the table. "Or should we talk about Rachel's FBI interview first?" The color drained from his face. "You don't understand." "Actually, I do. Better than you think." I leaned forward. "What I don't understand is why Ava's name is on half these transfers." Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, then calculation. "Ava? No, she just did the audits. She wouldn't—" My laugh felt like broken glass. "Still lying? Even now?" I pulled up the email chain on my phone, turned it toward him. "She's been helping you move money for months. The only question is whether she was playing you or you were playing her." Before he could respond, the door chimed. Ava walked in, freezing when she saw us. Her mascara was smudged, hair wild like she'd been running her hands through it. "Don't stop on my account," I said, gesturing to the empty chair. "Join us. We were just discussing your extracurricular activities." She sat slowly, eyes darting between us. "Mark, what did you tell her?" "Nothing yet." I answered for him. "But he was about to explain why you both thought I'd make the perfect fall guy for your little scheme." Thunder cracked closer, making the windows rattle. Mark's hands clenched around his untouched coffee. "It wasn't like that," Ava whispered. "We never meant—" "To get caught?" I finished. "Yeah, that part's clear. What I can't figure out is whether you were working together the whole time, or if this is just a spectacular coincidence." They exchanged a look that told me everything. "How long?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. 6 months, Ava said, just as Mark said. "A year." Another crack in their united front. "Interesting." "The wedding was your idea, wasn't it?" I asked Mark. Perfect cover story. Perfect alibi. Perfect way to make me look complicit when it all fell apart. "I loved you," he protested. That part was real. Was it? Or did you just love how convenient I was? I pulled out one final paper, a bank statement with a very specific transfer highlighted, because this payment to Ava the day after our engagement suggests otherwise. Ava's sharp intake of breath was almost drowned out by the rain now pounding against the windows. Mark's face had gone completely still. "You weren't supposed to find that," he said quietly. "I wasn't supposed to find a lot of things." I stood, gathering the papers. "The FBI will be interested in all of it, though, especially the offshore accounts." "Wait," Ava grabbed my arm. "Please, I can explain everything." "Can you explain why my best friend helped orchestrate my humiliation? Why she took money to watch me walk into a trap?" I jerked away from her grip. "Save your explanations for your lawyer." "You don't want to do this." Mark's voice had dropped to that dangerous register I'd never heard before our wedding day. "Think about what you're risking." "I have." I picked up my phone, stopped the recording. That's why I already sent copies of everything to Agent Torres this morning, and to every board member at your firm, and to that reporter who's been investigating financial fraud cases. The look that passed between them was pure panic now. Outside, lightning split the sky. You're bluffing, Mark said, but his voice shook. Am I? Check your email. Should be hitting inboxes right about. I glanced at my watch. Now. Their phones buzzed simultaneously. I watched their faces as they read, as they realized exactly how thoroughly I'd destroyed them. Why? Ava's voice cracked. Why not just turn us in? Why all this? Because I needed to see it, to see you both try to lie your way out one last time. I turned toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Mark? Savannah says hello. I walked out into the storm, letting the rain wash away the last traces of who I used to be. Behind me, through the window, I could see them frantically typing on their phones, making calls that wouldn't save them. My own phone buzzed. Braxton. FBI just arrived at the office. You okay? I watched lightning fracture the sky again and smiled. I will be. The storm chased me all the way to the office, where red and blue lights strobed against rain-slicked windows. I sat in my car, watching FBI agents escort people out under black umbrellas. Mark emerged in handcuffs, head high despite the circumstances, always performing, even now. My phone lit up with Eva's face. Where are you? She demanded when I answered. Everyone's saying, I know what they're saying. I watched Ava being led out next, mascara running down her cheeks. Is Braxton still there? Yeah, he's talking to the agents. Saul, what did you do? What needed to be done? I hung up, stepping out into the rain. The wind whipped my hair around my face as I walked toward the building's entrance. Agent Torres met me at the door, his badge gleaming under fluorescent lights. Ms. Walker, we need to ask you some questions. I assumed you would. I followed him inside, past shocked colleagues and whispered conversations. My heels clicked against marble floors, echoing like heartbeats. They'd set up in the conference room, the same one where I'd first met Mark 3 years ago. He sat at the far end now, hands cuffed in front of him, Ava beside him looking small and scared. Their lawyers hadn't arrived yet. Solstice? Mark's voice carried that familiar warmth, like he could still charm his way out of this. You don't have to do this. Actually, I do. I sat across from them, placing my phone and a small notebook on the table. But first, I want you both to know something. Ava wouldn't meet my eyes. Sol, please. I want you to know that I understand. I opened the notebook, my wedding planner, repurposed for a different kind of orchestration. I understand why you did it, the thrill of taking what you wanted, of thinking you were smarter than everyone else, of feeling powerful instead of afraid. Mark's smile faltered. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? I turned to Agent Torres. Did you find the second set of accounts? The ones under his mother's maiden name? Mark's face went slack. Beside him, Ava made a small, wounded sound. You said those were just for tax purposes, she whispered. You said I wouldn't be implicated. He lied, Ava. That's what he does. I met her eyes finally. The question is, are you going to keep protecting him? The conference room fell silent except for the storm raging outside. I could see the moment Ava's loyalty shattered, could practically hear it breaking. The Cayman accounts, she said quietly. Those weren't my idea. And the wedding? She turned to Mark, voice strengthening. Tell her about the wedding, about what you really planned. Mark lunged across the table, but the handcuffs caught him short. Shut up. He was going to frame you for everything, Ava rushed out. After the honeymoon, he was going to transfer the missing money into your accounts, make it look like you'd been stealing for years. I helped him set it up. I'm so sorry, Saul. I'm so sorry. Agent Torres signaled, and two other agents moved to separate them. Mark's face had transformed into something ugly, unfamiliar. You think this makes you clever? He snarled at me. You think you've won? I built this whole thing. Everything you know about finance, about business, I taught you. You're nothing without me. Lightning flashed, throwing harsh shadows across his features. In that moment, I saw my father in him, the same entitled rage, the same inability to accept consequences. You're wrong. I stood, gathering my things. I learned everything I needed to know from watching you underestimate me. I turned to Agent Torres. The notebook has everything: dates, accounts, conversations, and my phone has recordings of both of them admitting involvement. I assume that's enough? He nodded, already reaching for the evidence. More than enough. We'll need you to make a formal statement. Of course. I moved toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Mark? Savannah's testimony should be interesting, especially the part about the baby. The sound he made was barely human. Ava's eyes went wide with fresh horror. Outside the conference room, Braxton waited. You okay? No. I watched agents lead Mark and Ava in separate directions, their lawyers finally arriving too late to help. But I will be. Was it worth it? He asked quietly. Getting justice? I thought about June's warning about revenge consuming me, about the cost of fighting fire with fire, but I also thought about every woman Mark had hurt, about every lie Ava had helped him tell. It wasn't about justice, I said finally. It was about making sure they couldn't do this to anyone else. The storm was passing now, late afternoon sun breaking through clouds. In its light, I could almost see the shape of who I might become. Someone stronger, yes, but also someone who understood the difference between vengeance and protection. Come on, Braxton said gently. Let's get out of here. I followed him out, leaving behind the ruins of my old life and the architects of its destruction. Sometimes, I was learning, you have to burn everything down to build something true. The autumn wind scattered leaves across my father's gravestone as I placed the newspaper clipping against the marble. The headline was small, just a few lines about Mark's guilty plea and the restitution ordered, but it felt monumental seeing it in print. I thought I'd find you here. Ava's voice carried across the cemetery. She picked her way between headstones, coffee cups in hand. You okay? Better than okay. I accepted the coffee, letting its warmth seep into my fingers. Did you see Ava's sentencing got moved up? Yeah, Christian told me she's cooperating fully now. She settled beside me on the cold ground. You never told me why you chose today to come here. I traced our father's name with my free hand, because I finally understand something he never did, about choices, about consequences, and about running away. The gentleness in her voice nearly undid me. That too. I took a sip of coffee, letting memories surface. Remember how he always had explanations, excuses, how nothing was ever really his fault? Like father, like former fiancé. Exactly. I pulled out June's latest letter from my pocket. She still wrote them weekly, even though I'd stopped needing therapy sessions. She says I've been fighting him all along, through Mark, through Ava, through everyone who thought they could write my story for me. Ava leaned against my shoulder. And now? Now I'm writing my own. I stood, brushing leaves from my clothes. Speaking of which, have you checked your email today? She pulled out her phone, brow furrowing as she read. You're starting a consulting firm for fraud prevention? With Braxton and Savannah. I couldn't help smiling at her surprise. Turns out dismantling a complex financial fraud scheme looks pretty good on a resume. We've already got 3 clients lined up. Soul, that's... She stopped, looking past me. Is that who I think it is? I turned to see Ava standing at the cemetery entrance, uncertainty written across her face. She looked smaller somehow, without her designer clothes and careful makeup. I asked her to come. I said quietly, "There's something she needs to hear." Eva squeezed my hand before walking away, leaving me to face the ghost of my former best friend. Ava approached slowly, like she expected me to change my mind. "I got your message," she said when she reached me, "about wanting closure." "Not closure." I gestured to our father's grave. "Understanding." She read the headstone, realization dawning. "The man who taught you about betrayal and about forgiveness." I met her eyes steadily. "Not the kind that forgets or excuses, the kind that sets you free." "I don't deserve." "This isn't about what you deserve." I cut her off. "It's about who I choose to be, and I choose not to carry the weight of hating you anymore." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I've thought about it every day. How I could have stopped him, warned you. How I let him convince me that hurting you was somehow protecting you." "I know." I pulled out an envelope, held it out. "That's why I brought you this." Her hands shook as she opened it. "A character reference for my sentencing? You did wrong things for complicated reasons, just like he did." I nodded toward the grave. "The difference is you owned it. You chose to make it right. Not soon enough. No, but you chose." I stepped back, feeling lighter somehow. "That's the thing about choices, Ava. We keep getting to make new ones." She clutched the letter like a lifeline. "I don't know how to start over." "Yes, you do." I turned to leave, then paused. "By the way, when you get out, come find me. The firm could use someone who knows exactly how these schemes work." I walked away before she could respond, joining Eva by the car. The late afternoon sun painted everything in amber light, making even the cemetery look hopeful. "You're really offering her a job?" Eva asked as we drove away. "After everything?" I watched the cemetery recede in the mirror, thinking about choices and consequences and the stories we tell ourselves about both. "You know what I learned from all this?" I said finally. "The opposite of betrayal isn't revenge. It's creating something new from the ashes of what burned." Ava smiled, understanding dawning. "And that's what you're building? Something new?" "Something true," I corrected, feeling the future unfold before us like an open road. "Something entirely my own."
I should have known something was wrong when my husband told me to stop being a drama queen while I was burning up with fever on our bathroom floor. My name is Penny, and I'm the kind of person who plans birthday parties 6 months in advance and keeps spreadsheets for grocery shopping. Some people call it controlling. I call it caring. For 2 years, I'd been squirreling away money from my marketing job, skipping lunches, buying generic everything, even selling my grandmother's jewelry, all to give my family the vacation of a lifetime. "Babe, you sure about this resort?" Damien had asked when I first showed him the brochure. "It's pretty expensive." "It's all inclusive," I'd said, practically bouncing. "Your parents have never been anywhere like this. Neither has Lexus. And after the year you've had at work." He'd kissed my forehead then. "You're too good to us." That was 8 months ago. Now, the night before our flight to paradise, I was shivering under 3 blankets while my temperature spiked to 103. "Penny, seriously, you need to pull yourself together," Damien said, standing in the doorway like I might contaminate him. "We leave in 12 hours. "I can barely stand up," I whispered, my throat feeling like sandpaper. "It's probably just stress. You've been obsessing over this trip for weeks." My mother's voice carried from downstairs. "Is she still being dramatic up there?" "Mom's right," Lexus chimed in. "You always get sick when something important happens. Remember my graduation?" I wanted to remind her that I'd had food poisoning from the restaurant she'd insisted we try, but speaking felt impossible. Instead, I watched my family gather in the hallway outside our bedroom, discussing me like I wasn't there. "The doctor said it could be the flu," I managed. "The flu?" My father finally spoke up. "Penny, that's contagious." "Exactly. my mother said, stepping back dramatically. We can't risk getting sick, not when we've been planning this for months. 2 years, I corrected weakly. I've been planning this for 2 years. Damien sat on the edge of the bed, but not close enough to touch me. Look, maybe you should stay home. Rest up. We'll take lots of pictures. The room went silent except for my labored breathing. Stay home? The words came out as a croak. The words, "It makes sense," Lexus said, already warming to the idea. You'd just be miserable anyway. And honestly, you've been so stressed about every little detail, maybe you need the break from vacation planning. My mother nodded. Plus, someone should watch the house, and you know how you get about germs on planes. I don't get weird about germs, I said, but they weren't listening. We could upgrade your room, Damien said to his parents, since Penny won't be using it. Oh, that's perfect, my mother clapped. I saw they have those suites with the private pools. I stared at them, my fever-addled brain trying to process what was happening, the vacation I'd sacrificed everything for, the trip I'd planned down to the minute, and they were redistributing my room like I'd never existed. But I paid for everything, I whispered. And we're grateful, Damien said, patting my leg through the blanket. This is probably better anyway. You can recover properly. The resort has a no-refund policy for illness, my father added helpfully. I checked. Of course he had. We should probably pack, Lexus said. Early flight and all. They filed out one by one. My mother paused at the door. Try to get some sleep, honey, and maybe clean up a bit while we're gone. The house is a disaster. The house was a disaster because I'd been running around for weeks, confirming reservations, buying everyone new clothes for the trip, and making sure every detail was perfect. Damien came back an hour later with a glass of water and 2 Tylenol. You'll thank us for this, he said. Trust me. I wanted to ask him what I'd done to deserve this. I wanted to remind him about the second job I'd taken last Christmas, the vacation days I'd saved, the credit card I'd maxed out for his parents' first-class upgrades. Instead, I closed my eyes and listened to them laugh downstairs, planning their upgraded accommodations in my absence. At 5 a.m., I heard suitcases rolling across the hardwood floor, car doors slamming, the engine starting. They left without saying goodbye. The first day passed in a haze of fever dreams and tissues. I'd drag myself to the kitchen for water, then collapse back into bed, my phone buzzing with notifications I couldn't bring myself to check. By day 2, my temperature had dropped enough that I could think clearly. That's when I made the mistake of looking at my messages. The group chat was called Paradise Squad, a name Lexus had insisted on. Damien. Landed safely. Resort is incredible. Wish you were here, babe. Mom. The suite is gorgeous. 3 bedrooms and our own infinity pool. You would have loved the spa. Dad. Breakfast buffet has everything, even that fancy coffee you like. Lexus. OMG. The beach is perfect, getting my tan on. I scrolled through dozens of messages, photos of champagne glasses, videos of Lexus doing cartwheels on white sand, my parents posing by their private pool. Then I saw it. A group photo from dinner the night before, all 4 of them raising their glasses in a toast, huge smiles, the ocean sunset behind them. The caption made my stomach drop. Damien. Thinking of you. The laughing emoji reactions from my family felt like slaps. My phone buzzed with a private message from my mother. Mom, hope you're feeling better. Try not to be too upset about missing this. There will be other vacations. Other vacations? With what money? I'd emptied my savings account for this trip. Mom. Also, the resort charged us extra for late check-in yesterday. Something about your booking being changed? Can you look into that when you're feeling up to it? I stared at the message. Late check-in? I'd confirmed everything twice. I'd even called the resort the week before to verify arrival times. Me. What do you mean late check-in? I booked early arrival. Mom. Well, something went wrong. It's fine. We handled it. Just saying you might want to double-check your planning next time. My planning, like this was somehow my fault. Another message popped up from Lexus. Lexus. BTW, the couple's massage you booked for you and Damien. I took Mom instead. Hope that's okay. You weren't using it anyway. My couple's massage. The one I'd specifically requested for our anniversary, which was next week. The one that cost $400. Me. That was for me and Damien. Lexus. Yeah, but you're not here, and Mom deserves to be pampered. She's been so stressed about your whole situation. My whole situation. Being sick was now a situation I'd created. The messages kept coming. Dad sent a video of himself at the golf course I'd booked for him and Damien. Thanks for setting this up, Penny. 18 holes of paradise. Damien posted a selfie from the rooftop bar. Living my best life. Thanks to my amazing wife for making this possible. The comments from his friends made me nauseous. Lucky man. Wife goals. When's she joining you? Damien replied. She's taking some personal time at home. Sometimes you need space to appreciate what you have. Space to appreciate what I have. I was home alone with the flu, not on some spiritual journey. My phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Reynolds? This is Yusuf from Paradise Cove Resort. I'm calling about your reservation. My heart stopped. Is everything okay? Is my family okay? Oh, yes, they're fine. I'm actually calling because there seems to be some confusion about your booking. You're listed as the primary guest, but you're not here, and there have been some requests for upgrades and changes that require your authorization. What kind of changes? Well, your husband requested to move to the presidential suite. Your sister wanted to add several spa treatments, and your parents asked about extending their stay by 3 days. I sat up in bed, my head spinning. Did they mention that I'm sick? That's why I'm not there? No, ma'am. They said you'd decided to stay home for personal reasons. Personal reasons. Not the flu. Not being abandoned by my family. Personal reasons. I see. I said quietly. I wanted to check with you directly before approving any additional charges. The presidential suite alone would be an extra $800 per night. $800 per night for 3 more nights. Can I call you back? Of course, my direct number is 550-147. Ask for Yusuf. I hung up and stared at my phone. Another message had come in while I was talking. Mom. The concierge is being difficult about some upgrades. Can you call them? They said they need to speak to the person who made the booking. So annoying. So annoying. My family spending money I didn't have was annoying to her. I scrolled back through the photos. My mother in a designer cover-up I'd never seen before, Lexus with professional-looking nails that definitely weren't done at home, Damien wearing a new shirt. They were shopping. With what money? My phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo from Damien, him and my family at what looked like an expensive restaurant, bottles of wine on the table, everyone dressed up. Damien. Celebrating your recovery. Even though you're not here, we know you'd want us to enjoy ourselves. Celebrating my recovery. I was still coughing up phlegm and could barely taste food. I looked around my empty house. Dishes in the sink from the soup I'd tried to eat yesterday. Tissues everywhere. The vacation clothes I'd bought still hanging in my closet with tags on. My phone rang again. Yusuf? Mrs. Reynolds, I'm sorry to bother you again, but your family is asking about charging room service to the room. The bill is already quite substantial. How substantial? Well, with the spa treatments, the restaurant charges, and the bar tabs, it's approaching $3,000 in extras. $3,000 in 2 days. Mrs. Reynolds, are you there? I was there. I was very much there. I'm here, I said to Yusuf, my voice steadier than I felt. Can you hold on just a moment? I muted the call and opened Instagram. Damien had posted a story 20 minutes ago. A video of him doing shots with my father while Lexus and my mother cheered them on. The caption read, "When the wife's away, the family will play." The wife's away. Like I was on some girls' trip instead of home sick with a fever. I unmuted the call. Yusuf, I need to ask you something. What exactly did my family tell you about why I'm not there? They said you had a last-minute change of heart, that you decided you needed some alone time and wanted them to enjoy the vacation without you. A change of heart. Not the flu, not being too sick to travel. A change of heart. I see. And the $3,000 in charges. What does that include? Let me pull up the account. Premium spa packages, top shelf liquor, the specialty restaurant every night, room service, shopping charges at the resort boutique, golf lessons, parasailing, jet ski rentals. Each item hit like a punch. I'd budgeted for the all-inclusive package. I'd specifically chosen all-inclusive so there wouldn't be surprise charges. Yusuf, when I booked this trip, I selected the all-inclusive option. Yes, you did. But all-inclusive has limits. Premium alcohol, specialty restaurants, and activities like jet skiing aren't included. Your family has been quite enthusiastic about the upgrades. My phone buzzed with another message. Lexus. OMG, Penny, you have to see this massage therapist. I booked us both for tomorrow. It's only $300 each. Only $300 each. $600 for massages. Yusuf, I need to make some changes to the reservation. Of course. What can I help you with? I stood up and walked to my kitchen where I'd left all my vacation planning folders. 2 years of research, price comparisons, and careful budgeting. I'd called this resort 6 times to confirm every detail. I want to revoke the charging privileges for everyone except myself. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? I want to remove the ability for my family to charge anything to the room. No more spa treatments, no more premium restaurants, no more activities, just the basic all-inclusive package I originally paid for. Silence on the other end. Mrs. Reynolds, that's certainly your right as the primary guest, but your family has already made reservations for tonight and tomorrow, the spa appointments, the specialty restaurant. Cancel them. All of them? I thought about Damien's post. The wife's away. The family will play. All of them. And the presidential suite upgrade they requested for tonight. Absolutely not. They can stay in the original rooms I booked. Mrs. Reynolds, if I may ask, is everything all right? I laughed and it came out bitter. Everything's perfect, Yusuf. My family is having the time of their lives on my dime while I'm homesick with the flu they abandoned me with. Oh. His voice softened. I'm sorry to hear that. It's fine. Can you make those changes? Yes, but I should warn you. They're not going to be happy when they find out. I'm sure they won't be. Would you like me to explain the situation to them, or would you prefer to handle it yourself? I thought about this. About my mother's messages blaming me for booking errors. About Lexus taking my anniversary massage. About Damien posting videos like I was some absent wife who chose to stay home. Actually, Yusuf, don't tell them anything yet. Just when they try to charge something and it gets declined, tell them they need to speak with the primary guest. That's you. That's me. And if they ask why the charges are being declined, tell them the truth. The person who paid for the vacation needs to authorize any additional expenses. I could hear him typing. Done. Is there anything else? Actually, yes. Can you tell me what the total bill would be if I let them continue spending like this? More typing. Based on their current rate of spending and the reservations they've made for the rest of the week, approximately $8,000 in additional charges. $8,000, on top of the $12,000 I'd already spent on the original booking. Thank you, Yusuf. You've been very helpful. Mrs. Reynolds? For what it's worth, I'm sorry your family isn't there taking care of you while you're sick. After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen and waited. It didn't take long. My phone exploded with messages. Dad. Penny, something's wrong with the room charges. They won't let us book dinner at the steakhouse. Mom. The spa canceled my facial. They said something about authorization. This is embarrassing. Lexus. UTF. Penny, my massage got canceled and they're being super rude about it. Fix this. Damien. Babe, call the resort. There's some mix-up with our account. They're saying we can't charge anything. I screenshot all the messages and sent them to my best friend Sarah with a text. Guess what happened when I cut off their spending spree? She called immediately. Penny, are you serious? They're actually mad at you? Apparently I'm supposed to fix it from my sickbed. Don't you dare call that resort back. Oh, I'm not calling to fix it. What do you mean? I looked at my phone, which was now ringing with a call from Damien. I'm just getting started. I let Damien's call go to voicemail. Then I turned my phone off completely. For the first time in 2 days, I felt hungry. Actually hungry, not just forcing myself to eat soup. I made scrambled eggs with cheese, the good cheese I'd been saving for a special occasion. While they cooked, I remembered something. Last Christmas, when I'd gotten food poisoning at Lexus's graduation dinner. "Penny, you always do this," my mother had said while I was throwing up in the restaurant bathroom. "You get sick at the worst possible times." "It's not on purpose, Mom." Well, it feels like it is. Lexus has been planning this celebration for months. I'd been planning it. I'd made the reservations, bought Lexus's dress, even arranged for her favorite flowers at the table. But when the seafood made me violently ill, somehow I was the one ruining everything. The eggs were perfect. I ate them slowly, tasting every bite. My landline rang. I'd forgotten I even had one. "Penny?" It was my mother, her voice sharp. "Why is your cell phone off?" "I'm resting, like you all suggested." "Well, we need you to call the resort. There's been some terrible mistake with our account." "What kind of mistake?" "They're saying we can't charge anything. The concierge was incredibly rude to your father. He tried to book a fishing excursion, and they embarrassed him in front of everyone." I took another bite of eggs. "That's strange." "It's more than strange. It's unacceptable. You need to fix this immediately." "Mom, I'm still sick." "You sound fine to me." "I'm not fine. I have the flu, remember? The reason I couldn't come on the vacation I planned and paid for?" Silence. "Penny, don't be dramatic. We're having a crisis here." "What kind of crisis?" "We can't do anything. No spa treatments, no nice dinners, no activities. We're stuck with basic resort food and the regular pool. Like, regular people." Regular people. The horror. "Maybe you could pay for the extras yourselves?" "With what money? You know your father's on a fixed income. And Damien's between jobs right now." "Damien was between jobs? Since when?" "When did Damien lose his job?" "He didn't lose it. He's taking a break. He's been so stressed." "A break? For how long?" "Penny, that's not the point. The point is, you need to call the resort and fix this mess." I hung up. My phone stayed off for 3 hours. When I finally turned it back on, I had 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The group chat was chaos. "Lexus, this is literally the worst vacation ever. We can't do anything." "Dad." "Penny, please call." The resort manager was very unprofessional. "Damien." "Babe, seriously, call me back. This is getting ridiculous." "Mom." "I'm humiliated. The spa receptionist treated me like I was some kind of scammer." Then I saw something that made me sit up straight. "Lexus." BTW, guess who we ran into at the bar? Kaya from Damien's college, small world. Kaya, Damien's college girlfriend, the one he'd stayed friends with on social media, the one who liked every single one of his posts within minutes. I scrolled through the messages, looking for more details. Damien. "Yeah, crazy coincidence. She's here with some girlfriends." Lexus. "She looks amazing. Remember when you guys dated? So funny how life works out." Mom. "Such a sweet girl. She asked about you, Penny." I bet she did. My phone rang. Sarah. "Please tell me you're not caving to their demands." "I'm not. But Sarah, guess who's at the resort?" "Who?" "Kaya, Damien's ex. The one who's always commenting on his Instagram?" "That's the one." "Oh, this is rich. So let me get this straight. Your husband abandons you while you're sick, goes on the vacation you paid for, and runs into his ex-girlfriend?" "Apparently." "And now they're all texting you, demanding you fix their spending problems so they can continue partying?" "Pretty much." "Penny, you need to see this." "See what?" "Check Damien's Instagram, right now." I opened the app with shaking hands. Damien's latest story was from 2 hours ago. A group photo at the resort bar. Damien, my parents, Lexus, and 3 women I didn't recognize. One of them was stunning. Long dark hair, perfect smile, designer dress. That had to be Kaya. But it was the next photo that made my blood run cold. Damien and Kaya, just the two of them, sitting close at the bar. Her hand was on his arm. They were both laughing. The caption read, "Reconnecting with old friends." Sarah, are you seeing this? I screenshot everything. Penny, I'm so sorry. I stared at the photo. My husband on the vacation I'd sacrificed everything for, getting cozy with his ex-girlfriend while I was homesick. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Hi, Penny, this is Kaya. Got your number from Lexus. So sorry you couldn't make the trip. Damien's been telling me all about your situation. Hope you feel better soon." My situation. There was that phrase again. I screenshot the message and sent it to Sarah. "Oh, hell no," she said immediately. "What are you going to do?" I looked at the photo again. Damien's hand was resting on the back of Kaya's chair. "I'm going to call Yusuf." "The resort manager?" "Yeah, I think it's time to make some more changes to their vacation." "Yusuf, it's Penny again." "Mrs. Reynolds, how are you feeling?" "Much better, actually. I wanted to ask you about something. That photo my husband posted on social media, the one at your bar with the woman who's not his wife, is that normal behavior for your resort?" A pause. "I'm sorry, I don't follow social media accounts of our guests." "Of course not. But hypothetically, if a married man was getting very friendly with another woman while his sick wife was at home and that man was charging expensive drinks to a room his wife paid for, what would you think about that?" "Hypothetically, I'd think that man was making some very poor choices." "Hypothetically? Mrs. Reynolds, is there something specific I can help you with?" I pulled up Damien's Instagram again. He'd posted another story 30 minutes ago. This time it was a video of him and Kaya dancing. Her arms were around his neck. "Actually, yes. I want to make sure my family understands exactly what this vacation is costing." "How so?" "Can you itemize every single charge they've attempted to make, even the ones that were declined?" "Certainly. Would you like me to email that to you?" "Yes, but I also want you to present it to them. In person. Today." "Present it to them?" "Call it a courtesy check-in, let them know exactly how much they've tried to spend, and remind them that any additional charges need to be approved by the primary guest." "That's unusual, but not unreasonable." "And Yusuf, when you do this, make sure they understand that the primary guest is currently at home, sick with the flu, and unable to authorize any additional expenses." "I understand. One more thing. Can you tell me what their reaction is when you explain this to them?" "You want me to report back?" "I want to know if they show any concern for the person who's paying for their vacation." After I hung up, I made myself a proper lunch: grilled cheese and tomato soup, comfort food I actually had an appetite for. While I ate, my phone stayed mercifully quiet. Then, at exactly 2:47 p.m., it exploded. Lexus. "Penny, what the hell? Mom, this is humiliating. The manager just cornered us by the pool." Dad, very unprofessional behavior from the resort staff. Damien, call me, now. I screenshot everything and sent it to Sarah with the message, Phase 2, complete. She called immediately. "What did you do?" "I had the resort manager explain their spending to them, in public." "Oh my God, you're evil. I love it." It gets better. Guess what Damien posted 20 minutes before the manager showed up? "What?" "A video of him dirty dancing with Kaya." "No." "Yes." And guess what he posted right after the manager left? I refreshed Instagram. Damien's latest story was a selfie with a caption that made my stomach turn. "When life gives you lemons, make margaritas. Some people just don't know how to have fun." Some people, meaning me. "Sarah, he's posting about me, about how I don't know how to have fun." While you're homesick. While I'm homesick with the flu, I caught taking care of his laundry and meal prep before the trip. My phone rang. Damien. "Don't answer it," Sarah said. "I'm not." It went to voicemail. Then rang again. And again. Finally, a text. "Penny, you're embarrassing us. People are staring. Fix this." I was embarrassing them. Another message came in, this one from an unknown number. I opened it and nearly dropped my phone. It was a photo, Damien and Kaya in what looked like a hotel room. Not the resort room, a different room. They were sitting on a bed, and Kaya was wearing what appeared to be Damien's shirt. The message was from Kaya. Thought you should know what your husband's been up to. Sorry, girl. Sarah, I need to call you back. Why? What happened? Kaya just sent me a photo. What kind of photo? I stared at the image. Damien's wedding ring was clearly visible on the nightstand behind them. The kind that ends marriages. I hung up and immediately called Yusuf back. Mrs. Reynolds? Yusuf, I need to ask you something confidential. Do you have security cameras in your hotel? Of course. Why? If a guest was seen leaving the resort with someone who wasn't their spouse and then returning the next morning, would that be something you'd notice? Mrs. Reynolds, I can't discuss the activities of specific guests, even if that guest was charging the room to someone else's credit card? A long pause. What exactly are you asking me? I'm asking if my husband left the resort last night with another woman. I I can't confirm that. But you're not denying it. Mrs. Reynolds, perhaps we should discuss what you'd like to do about the remainder of their stay. Actually, yes, let's discuss that. How many days do they have left? 3 days, checking out Sunday morning. And what would happen if I canceled the reservation entirely? They'd need to find alternative accommodations or pay for the remaining nights themselves. How much would that cost them? For the rooms they're currently in, about $800 per night. I looked at the photo again. Damien's smug smile, Kaya wearing his shirt, my wedding ring money funding their affair. Yusuf, don't cancel anything yet, but I want you to do me one more favor. What's that? I want you to prepare their final bill, everything they've charged, everything they've tried to charge, and what they'd owe if they had to pay for the rest of their stay themselves. That's quite a substantial amount. I'm counting on it. Sunday morning, checkout day. I woke up feeling completely normal for the first time in a week. No fever, no congestion, no body aches, just pure, crystalline clarity about what I needed to do. My phone had been quiet since yesterday evening. Too quiet. I called Yusuf at exactly 9 a.m. Mrs. Reynolds, perfect timing. Your family is actually here at the front desk right now. Are they? Yes, and there seems to be some confusion about the final bill. What kind of confusion? Well, they're insisting there's been a mistake. They seem to think everything should be covered under the all-inclusive package you purchased. I could hear voices in the background. My mother's shrill tone, Lexus whining, Damien's fake charming voice trying to smooth things over. Yusuf, can you put me on speaker? Are you sure? Absolutely. I heard the click, then suddenly my family's voices became crystal clear. Completely unacceptable, my mother was saying. We were told this was all inclusive. Ma'am, as I've explained, the all inclusive package covers standard amenities, the premium spa treatments, top shelf alcohol, specialty restaurants, and activities you've enjoyed are additional charges. But we weren't told that, Lexus snapped. Actually, Yusuf said smoothly, I have Mrs. Reynolds on the line. Perhaps she can clarify the situation. Dead silence. Penny? Damien's voice suddenly much smaller. Hi, everyone. Having a good trip? Penny, there's been some kind of mistake with the bill, my father said quickly. What kind of mistake, Dad? They're trying to charge us thousands of dollars for things that should be included. Yusuf, can you read them the itemized list? Certainly. Premium spa package for 4 people, $200. Specialty restaurant dining for 6 nights, $890. Top shelf liquor and cocktails, $650. Golf lessons and equipment rental, $400. Jet ski and parasailing, $550. Shopping charges at resort boutique, $380. Room service, $290. And the presidential suite upgrade for 2 nights, $1,600. That's almost $6,000, I said helpfully. Penny, we didn't know, Damien started. Didn't know what? That champagne costs more than beer? That the spa treatments you've been posting about all week weren't free? You're being unreasonable, my mother cut in. We thought everything was covered. Everything I paid for was covered. The basic, all-inclusive package, the one you all said I was obsessing over when I spent months researching it. So what are you saying? Lexus demanded. I'm saying you have 2 choices. Pay the bill yourselves, or I can cover it and we can discuss repayment when you get home. Repayment? My mother's voice went up an octave. Penny, we're family. Are we? The silence stretched out. What's that supposed to mean? Damien asked. It means family doesn't abandon each other when they're sick. Family doesn't mock the person paying for their vacation. And family definitely doesn't. I stopped myself. Not yet. Doesn't what? Damien pressed. Yusuf, are they still there? Yes, Mrs. Reynolds. Can you give them some privacy to discuss their payment options? I'll hold. I heard muffled voices, then Yusuf came back on the line. They've stepped aside to talk. Mrs. Reynolds, I have to ask, are you planning to cover this bill? What do you think I should do, Yusuf? Honestly, I think your family has taken advantage of your generosity. That's putting it mildly. The woman who's been with your husband, she checked out this morning, separately. My heart stopped. Separately? Different room, paid for her own stay. She left about an hour ago. So Kaya was gone, but the evidence of what happened wasn't. Yusuf, I need you to do something for me. What's that? When my family comes back, I want you to tell them that I've decided not to cover the additional charges. You want them to pay the full amount? I want them to understand what their choices cost. I could hear my family's voices getting louder in the background. They're coming back, Yusuf said quietly. Put me back on speaker. Click. Penny? My father's voice, strained. We've talked it over, and we think the best solution is for you to handle this bill, and we'll work something out later. No? No? I'm not covering your extra charges. Penny, be reasonable, Damien said. We don't have $6,000. Then you shouldn't have spent $6,000. This is ridiculous, Lexus exploded. You're our sister, and you're my family, the family that left me home alone with a 103-degree fever so you could party on my dime. We didn't abandon you, my mother protested. You were sick. We couldn't risk getting sick too. But you could risk spending money I didn't have. Penny, please, Damien's voice was getting desperate. Just this once, I'll pay you back. With what money? The job you don't have anymore? Silence. Oh, you didn't tell them about that? I continued. About how you've been unemployed for 3 months and didn't bother mentioning it? Penny, or should we talk about Kaya? The silence was deafening. Who's Kaya? My mother asked. Ask your son-in-law. Ask him about the woman he's been posting photos with all week. Ask him where he spent Thursday night. Penny, you're being paranoid, Damien said, but his voice shook. Am I? Yusuf, can you confirm that a woman named Kaya checked out of the resort this morning? I can confirm that, yes. And can you confirm that she was not part of the original reservation I made? That's correct. Damien, my mother's voice was sharp. What is she talking about? I smiled, even though they couldn't see me. Yusuf, please give them their bill. All of it. And let them know they have 30 minutes to settle their account before security gets involved. Penny, wait! Damien started. But I'd already hung up. My phone immediately started ringing. I turned it off and went to make breakfast. The real fun was just beginning. I kept my phone off for 6 hours. When I finally turned it back on at 3 p.m., I had 67 missed calls and 89 text messages. The group chat was a war zone. Mom. Penny, we had to put the bill on 3 different credit cards. Dad. This is going to take us months to pay off. Lexus. I can't believe you did this to us. Damien. We need to talk. I'm coming home early. That last message was from 2 hours ago. I heard a car door slam in my driveway. Damien walked through the front door like he owned the place, dragging his suitcase behind him. His face was red, his hair disheveled, and he looked like he hadn't slept. What the hell was that, Penny? Hello to you too. How was your vacation? Don't play games with me. Do you have any idea what you just did? I sat on the couch, completely calm. I let you experience the real cost of your choices. $6,000, Penny. Your parents had to max out their credit cards. My parents? What about you? What did you put on your card? He looked away. I'm between jobs right now. For 3 months. 3 months, Damien, and you didn't tell me. I was going to. When? After you bankrupted us, paying for vacations we can't afford? It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You've been unemployed for 3 months, spending money we don't have, while I worked overtime to pay for a vacation you abandoned me for. You were sick. I had the flu. People get sick, Damien. Normal people take care of each other when that happens. He started pacing. You're making this into something it's not. Am I? Let's talk about Kaya. He froze. Sit down, Damien. Penny, sit down. He sat on the edge of the armchair, as far from me as possible. I pulled out my phone and opened the photo Kaya had sent me. Want to explain this? His face went white. Where did you get that? She sent it to me. Your girlfriend sent me a photo of you two in bed together. She's not my girlfriend. No? What is she then? It's complicated. Uncomplicated. He put his head in his hands. We ran into each other at the resort. We had some drinks. We talked about old times. And then you slept with her. It didn't mean anything. It meant something to me. Penny, I was upset. You weren't there. I was stressed about money, about work. So you cheated on me. It was one night that I paid for. One night in a resort room that I saved for 2 years to afford. He looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw something that might have been shame. I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you sorry you got caught? I'm sorry I hurt you, but not sorry you did it. He didn't answer. My phone rang. My mother. Answer it, I said. Put it on speaker. Penny, answer it, or I'm calling a divorce lawyer right now. He answered. Hi, Vivian. Damien. Thank God. Is Penny there? I'm here, Mom. Penny, what you did today was cruel and vindictive. Your father and I are devastated. Are you? We had to borrow money from your uncle to pay that bill. We're humiliated. You're humiliated? How do you think I felt when you left me home sick so you could party with my money? That's different. How is it different? You were sick. We couldn't help that. You could have stayed home. You could have postponed the trip. You could have shown 1 ounce of concern for the person who sacrificed everything to give you that vacation. We were grateful. No, you weren't. You were entitled. You took my generosity for granted, and when I got sick, you saw it as an inconvenience instead of an opportunity to take care of me. Penny, you're being dramatic. Am I? Let me ask you something, Mom. When was the last time you asked how I was feeling? Not about the resort bill, not about the vacation. About me. Silence. When was the last time any of you asked if I needed anything while I was sick? More silence. That's what I thought. Penny, my father's voice came through the phone. We love you. Do you? Because it doesn't feel like love. It feels like you love what I do for you. The vacations I plan, the money I spend, the problems I solve. That's not true. Isn't it? When's the last time you called me just to talk? When's the last time you invited me somewhere that I didn't have to pay for? I looked at Damien, who was staring at the floor. When's the last time my own husband took me on a date that didn't involve me planning and paying for everything? Penny, Damien started. Don't. Just don't. I stood up and walked to the kitchen, where I'd left a manila envelope on the counter. Damien, I have something for you. I handed him the envelope. What is this? Separation papers. I had them drawn up yesterday. He stared at the envelope like it might bite him. You're divorcing me over one mistake? I'm divorcing you over 3 years of mistakes. The unemployment you hid, the money you've been spending, the way you treat me like your personal assistant instead of your wife. And the cheating? The cheating was just the final straw. My mother's voice came through the phone, shrill and desperate. Penny, you can't break up the family over this. I'm not breaking up the family, Mom. I'm just done being the only one who cares about keeping it together. I took the phone from Damien. I need some time to think about what kind of relationship I want with all of you going forward. If I want one at all. Penny, please. I hung up. Damien was still holding the envelope. You really want me to sign this? I want you to read it. Think about it. And decide if you want to fight for this marriage or if you want to make this easy. What if I want to fight for it? I looked at him. Really looked at him. The man I'd married 3 years ago, who'd promised to love and cherish me in sickness and in health. Then you'd better figure out how to do that without my credit card. 3 weeks passed before anyone contacted me. I spent those weeks doing things I'd forgotten I enjoyed. I read entire books in one sitting. I took long baths without checking my phone. I cooked elaborate meals just for myself and ate them slowly, tasting every bite. Sarah came over every few days, bringing wine and updates from the outside world. Your sister's been posting about having to pick up extra shifts at work, she said, scrolling through Instagram. Very dramatic captions about family betrayal and learning who people really are. Ironic. Your mom's been calling my mom, asking if I know how you're doing. What did you tell her? That you're doing great, which seems to be true. It was true. I felt lighter than I had in years. The call came on a Tuesday evening. My father. Penny? It's Dad. Hi, Dad. Can we talk? In person? About what? About everything. About what happened. About what we did wrong. I almost said no. Almost hung up. But something in his voice stopped me. Just you. Just me. He came over the next evening, looking older than I remembered. He sat at my kitchen table, hands folded like a child waiting to be scolded. Your mother doesn't know I'm here. I figured. She's not handling this well. The credit card bills, the stress. She had to go to the doctor yesterday. I felt a flicker of concern, then pushed it down. What's wrong with her? High blood pressure, anxiety. The doctor said it's stress related. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? The question surprised me. Of course I am. I don't want Mom to be sick. But you're not sorry about what you did. I looked at him carefully. Are you asking me to be? He was quiet for a long time. I keep thinking about that morning, he said finally. When we left, you were so sick and we walked out. Yes, you did. I told myself we were doing the right thing, that you needed rest, that we'd just be in the way. Did you believe that? I wanted to. It was easier than admitting we were being selfish. I poured him a cup of coffee. He wrapped his hands around the mug like he was cold. Your mother keeps saying you overreacted. That families forgive each other. That's what families do. What do you think? I think we forgot you were part of the family too. The honesty in his voice caught me off guard. Dad, let me finish. I think we got so used to you taking care of everything, planning everything, paying for everything, that we forgot you might need taking care of too. I felt tears starting and blinked them back. I think, he continued, that when you got sick, we saw it as an inconvenience instead of a chance to show you how much we appreciate everything you do. And now? Now, I think we learned what it costs when the person holding everything together decides to let go. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Yusuf from Paradise Cove. Hope you're feeling better. Thought you'd want to know. Your family has been blacklisted from future stays. Management's decision. Take care. I showed the text to my father. He read it and winced. We really screwed up, didn't we? Yeah, Dad, you did. Can you forgive us? I don't know yet. He nodded. That's fair. But I'm glad you came. I'm glad you can see what really happened. What about Damien? I glanced at the divorce papers on my counter, signed and ready to file. What about him? Are you really getting divorced? He cheated on me, Dad, on a vacation I paid for while I was homesick with the flu. I know. I'm not saying you should forgive him. I'm asking if you want to. No, I don't. Then you shouldn't. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Dad, I need you to understand something. What's that? I'm not the same person who planned that vacation. I'm not going to keep sacrificing myself to make everyone else happy. I know. If you want a relationship with me, it's going to be different. I'm not going to be the one who always gives and never receives. What would that look like? It would look like you calling to check on me when I'm sick. It would look like you planning something for my birthday instead of expecting me to plan my own party. It would look like treating me like a daughter, not a travel agent. He smiled sadly. We can do that. Can you? Because it's going to mean disappointing Mom sometimes. And Lexus, when they expect me to fix their problems or pay for their wants, and I say no. We'll figure it out. My phone rang. Damien. I looked at my father. I should take this. Penny. Damien's voice was rough. I signed the papers. Okay. I also got a job. A real job. I start Monday. Good for you. I know it's too late, but I wanted you to know I'm trying to be better. I hope you are. For your sake. Not for us. There is no us anymore, Damien. I know. I wanted to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not just sorry I got caught. Thank you. Will you be okay? I looked around my quiet house at my father sitting at my table, at the life I was building for myself. Yeah, I think I will be. After I hung up, my father stood to leave. Dad? Yeah? Next time you want to take a vacation, plan it yourself and pay for it yourself. He laughed. Deal. But if you want to come over for dinner sometime just to spend time together, I'd like that. I'd like that too. After he left, I sat on my couch with a cup of tea and opened my laptop. I had an email from my bank about the credit card I'd used for the resort. The balance was finally paid off. I closed the laptop and smiled. My weakness had been my generosity, but I was learning the difference between generosity and being used. And for the first time in years, I was looking forward to finding out who I was when I wasn't trying to make everyone else happy. The price of revenge had been steep: a marriage, a family dynamic, thousands of dollars in credit card debt. But the cost of staying silent would have been steeper. I was finally free. Don't come to us when your little hobby fails. Those were the last words my father spoke to me before I walked out of their mansion 8 years ago. My name is Oakley, and I still remember the way his lips curled when he said hobby, like I'd told him I wanted to become a professional finger painter. I was 23, fresh out of undergrad with a geology degree and dreams of studying coastal erosion. All I needed was help with graduate school tuition, just a loan. I'd pay it back. Geology? My mother, Sandra, had actually laughed while polishing her nails at the kitchen island. Oakley, darling, that's not a career for a woman. It's dirty work, manual labor. It's science, Mom. I want to get my doctorate and doctorate? My father, Benson, had looked up from his newspaper like I'd announced I was joining the circus. We're not throwing good money after bad, so you can play in the dirt for 4 more years. Meanwhile, my brother Cody was upstairs sleeping off another hangover, his third failed business venture already forgotten and forgiven. The family had just written him another check for $50,000 to get back on his feet. But me? I was asking for $12,000 for tuition. Your brother has vision, Dad had said. He's an entrepreneur. You're just stubborn. I'd stood there in their gleaming kitchen, surrounded by marble countertops that cost more than most people's cars, watching my parents dismiss my life's work like it was a phase, like wanting to understand how coastlines change and collapse was some silly whim. I'll prove you wrong, I'd whispered. What was that? Mom had asked, not even looking up. Nothing. But it wasn't nothing. I'd walked out that day with my beat-up Honda Civic packed with everything I owned, and I'd made myself a promise. I'd become so successful, so undeniably expert in my field, that they'd have to respect me, they'd have to need me. I just never imagined it would happen quite like this. 8 years later, I'm Dr. Oakley Evans. I have a PhD in coastal geology from Stanford, 3 published papers on cliff erosion patterns, and a consulting contract with the State Geological Survey. I've testified before Congress twice about climate change impacts on coastal infrastructure. I own a house in San Francisco, drive a Tesla, and haven't spoken to my family since graduation day, when they didn't show up. So when my phone buzzed yesterday during a field survey in Mendocino and I saw Mom on the caller ID, I almost didn't answer. Almost. Oakley? Sandra's voice was shaky, desperate, nothing like the cool dismissal I remembered. Oakley, thank God, we need your help. The house, the cliff, it's falling into the ocean. I'd stood there on the rocky shoreline, wind whipping my hair, listening to my mother beg. The whole foundation is shifting, cracks in the walls. The neighbors are panicking. We called some local contractors, but they say it's too dangerous. They can't help. We need a real expert. We need you. A real expert. After 8 years of radio silence, suddenly I was a real expert. Please, Oakley, I know we haven't talked, but you're the only one who understands this stuff. Can you come home? Can you help us? I'd listened to her voice crack on the word please, and for just a moment I felt that old familiar ache, the little girl who'd wanted nothing more than her parents' approval. Then I remembered the laughter, the dismissal, the way they'd written Cody check after check while telling me my dreams weren't worth investing in. I'll think about it, I'd said and hung up. But I didn't think about it. I deleted the voicemail she left an hour later without listening to it. Then I packed my field equipment, loaded my truck, and started driving south. Not because I forgave them, not because I wanted to help, because after 8 years of building my expertise, of becoming exactly what they said I'd never be, I finally had something they needed, something they couldn't get anywhere else. And I was going to make them pay for every single slight, every dismissive comment, every time they'd chosen my brother over me. The drive to their coastal estate took 4 hours. 4 hours to plan exactly how I was going to handle this. 4 hours to prepare for the moment I'd been unconsciously waiting for since the day I walked out. My phone rang twice more during the drive. Mom again. I let it go to voicemail. This time, I was coming back on my terms. The mansion looked exactly the same, sprawling white stucco with those ridiculous columns perched on what used to be a stable cliff overlooking the Pacific. Now I could see why Mom had sounded panicked. The manicured lawn ended abruptly where chunks of earth had simply vanished, leaving a jagged edge maybe 15 feet from the house. I parked behind a cluster of expensive cars I didn't recognize and grabbed my equipment bag. Before I could knock, the front door flew open. "Oakley!" Sandra rushed out, arms extended like we were long-lost best friends instead of estranged family. "You came? Oh, thank goodness you came!" She looked older, more fragile than I remembered. Her perfectly styled blonde hair couldn't hide the stress lines around her eyes. "Mom," I stepped back before she could hug me. "Where's the damage? Right to business, I see." Dad appeared in the doorway, and there was that familiar edge in his voice, still trying to control the conversation. "Hello, Oakley." "Benson." I didn't call him Dad. Couldn't. His jaw tightened, but before he could respond, Cody bounded down the front steps like a golden retriever. "Oak, look at you, all official with your fancy equipment." He grinned and tried to ruffle my hair like I was still 12. "Mom said you're some kind of rock doctor now." I ducked away from his hand. "Coastal geologist, and it's Dr. Evans." "Ooh, fancy." He laughed, but it sounded forced. "Come on, don't be so serious. We're family." "Are we?" The words slipped out before I could stop them. An uncomfortable silence stretched between us until Sandra clapped her hands together. "Well, everyone's here to meet you. Come, come." She gestured toward the backyard where I could see a small crowd gathered on the patio. The neighbors are so excited to meet a real scientist. I followed them around the house, noting how the back deck now hung partially over empty air. The cliff had retreated at least 20 feet since my last visit. "Oakley!" A woman with perfectly blown-out hair and 2 white teeth rushed over. It took me a moment to recognize Quinn, my former best friend from high school. "Oh my God, I can't believe Sandra's daughter is like a famous scientist now." Famous was a stretch, but I nodded. "Quinn, I heard you married well." Her smile flickered. "I married for love, but yes, Derek does very well in tech." She gestured to a man in expensive casual wear who was photographing the cliff edge with his phone. "We live just down the road now. When we heard you were coming, I told everyone. I used to be best friends with Dr. Evans." Used to be, right, until she'd decided I was too weird and studious junior year. "How fascinating," said an elderly man with silver hair and a condescending smile. "I'm Norman Bailey. I own the estate next door." He looked me up and down, taking in my field clothes and work boots. "You're quite young to be advising on such serious matters." "I'm 31 with a PhD from Stanford and 5 years of coastal consulting experience." I kept my voice level. "How many geology degrees do you have, Norman?" His smile vanished. Sandra quickly stepped between us. "Oakley's being modest. She's worked with the government and everything." Mom's voice had that fake bright quality she used when entertaining. "She's going to fix everything, aren't you, sweetheart?" "I'm here to assess the situation. That's all." "But you can stop it, right?" This from a thin brunette I didn't recognize. "The erosion? You can make it stop?" "I'm sorry. Who are you?" "Tabitha, Cody's wife." She had sharp features and calculating eyes. "We just want to know our home is safe." "Our home. Interesting. I need to examine the cliff face first." I walked toward the edge, pulling out my tablet and measuring tools. The damage was worse than I'd expected. Recent storms had accelerated the erosion, but the underlying geology told a different story. This wasn't just weather damage, the entire substrate was unstable. "So?" Dad appeared beside me, trying to look over my shoulder. "What's the verdict?" I took photos, made notes, collected soil samples. The group watched me work like I was performing some kind of magic trick. Well? Quinn called out. Can you save it? I looked up at the circle of expectant faces. These people who'd dismissed me, ignored me, written me off, now hanging on my every word. I need to run some tests, I said finally. But I can tell you right now, this isn't just about your house. What do you mean? Norman demanded. I gestured along the coastline. The erosion pattern extends at least half a mile in both directions. Every property along this stretch is at risk. The silence that followed was deafening. That's impossible, Norman sputtered. My house has been here for 40 years. Geology doesn't care how long your house has been here. I packed up my equipment. I'll have preliminary results tomorrow. Tomorrow? Sandra's voice cracked. But we need answers now. We need solutions. I shouldered my bag and looked at my family. Really looked at them. Dad's face was red with frustration. Mom looked like she might cry. Cody was still trying to charm his way through the crisis. 8 years ago, you told me not to come to you when my little hobby failed. I met Dad's eyes. Funny how things work out. I spent the night in my old bedroom, which Mom had converted into a guest room the moment I left. Gone were my rock collection, my geology posters, my bookshelf full of earth science textbooks. Now it was all beige and bland, like I'd never existed. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was up at dawn, running soil samples through my portable spectrometer when the smell of bacon drifted upstairs. Family breakfast, a tradition I'd forgotten existed. Downstairs, they were all gathered around the kitchen island like some twisted Norman Rockwell painting. Dad reading his tablet, Mom fussing over eggs, Benedict, Cody scrolling through his phone, and Tabitha applying lip gloss. Morning, sunshine, Cody called out without looking up. Sleep well in your fancy hotel room? It's fine. I poured myself coffee and stayed standing. Sit! Sit! Mom gestured to an empty stool. I made your favorite. Well, what used to be your favorite. Do you still like eggs, Benedict? I'm not staying long. Tabitha looked up from her compact mirror. Oh, that's too bad. I was hoping we could chat, get to know each other better. Her smile was sharp as glass. I love your practical look. So refreshing to see a woman who doesn't worry about appearances. The backhanded compliment hung in the air. I was wearing field clothes, cargo pants, work boots, hair in a ponytail. Next to Tabitha's designer athleisure and perfect makeup, I probably looked like I'd rolled out of a tent. Function over fashion, I said. It served me well. I'm sure it has. She tilted her head. Though I have to ask, don't you ever want to dress up? Go on dates? Find someone special? Tabitha. Cody's voice carried a warning. What? I'm just curious about Oakley's life. We're family now. My personal life isn't up for discussion. Dad cleared his throat. Speaking of your professional life, what did you find yesterday? I pulled out my tablet and set it on the counter. The geological survey data filled the screen: soil composition, erosion rates, substrate analysis. The cliff face is compromised along a 2-mile stretch. The sandstone layer beneath your property is saturated and unstable. Every house from the Bailey estate to the Murphy compound is at immediate risk. Immediate? Mom's voice went up an octave. What does that mean? It means the next major storm could trigger a massive slide. We're talking about losing another 50 to 100 feet of coastline in a single event. That's impossible, Dad said flatly. This cliff has been stable for decades. Climate change has accelerated coastal erosion patterns, rising sea levels, increased storm intensity, temperature fluctuations. Oh, please. Dad waved his hand dismissively. Not the climate change nonsense. I stared at him. Excuse me? You scientists love to blame everything on climate change. It's just a bad storm season. I have 40 years of geological data that says otherwise. Data can be manipulated to support any agenda. The old, familiar rage started building in my chest. Are you seriously questioning my professional expertise right now? I'm questioning the liberal propaganda they're teaching in universities these days. Benson, Mom said quietly, maybe we should listen. Listen to what? Our daughter trying to scare us with doomsday predictions? He stood up, towering over me like he used to when I was a kid. This is exactly why we didn't support your little geology phase. You've been brainwashed by environmental extremists. My little geology phase? I couldn't keep the disbelief out of my voice. I have a PhD from Stanford. I've published peer-reviewed research. I consult for the state government. And now you're trying to destroy property values with your fear-mongering. I'm trying to save lives. Whose lives? Tabitha jumped in. Everyone's been living here just fine until you showed up with your doom and gloom predictions. I looked around the kitchen at their faces, Mom wringing her hands, Dad red-faced and stubborn, Cody trying to disappear into his phone, Tabitha smirking like she'd scored points. You called me, I said slowly. You begged me to come here. We called you to fix the problem, Dad shot back. Not to create bigger ones. The problem already exists. I'm just telling you about it. Then fix it. Isn't that what we're paying you for? You're not paying me anything, and you can't fix geology, Dad. You can only adapt to it. So what are you suggesting? We abandon our homes? Walk away from millions of dollars in property? I'm suggesting you take this seriously before someone gets killed. Cody finally looked up from his phone. Oak, come on. You're being a little dramatic, don't you think? Dramatic? I grabbed my tablet and pulled up photos from yesterday. Look at this cliff face. See these stress fractures, this overhanging section. One good storm and this whole area comes down. But you can prevent that, right? Mom's voice was small, hopeful. There must be something. Retaining walls, drainage systems, something? I studied her face, seeing the desperation there. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. The scale of intervention required would cost millions. And even then, it would only buy you time. How much time? Tabitha asked. Maybe 5 years, maybe 10. But eventually, the ocean wins. The kitchen fell silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. Well, Dad said finally, I guess we'll get a second opinion. From who? A real expert, someone who isn't trying to push an agenda. I packed up my tablet and headed for the door. Good luck with that. Where are you going? Mom called after me. I paused in the doorway. To make some phone calls. People need to know what's coming. Oakley, wait. But I was already walking away, pulling out my phone to dial the State Geological Survey office. If my family wouldn't listen to reason, maybe the authorities would. By noon, word had spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. I was setting up my equipment for a second survey when a black SUV pulled into the driveway. Out stepped a woman in a crisp pantsuit and sensible heels, Mackenzie Ryan, the county's emergency management director. Also my high school rival who'd made my life hell senior year. Well, well, Oakley Evans. Mackenzie's smile was all teeth, no warmth. I heard you were back in town, stirring up trouble. Mackenzie, still playing politics instead of dealing with reality, I see. Reality is that you've got half the neighborhood in a panic over some preliminary soil samples. She gestured toward the Bailey estate, where I could see people gathered on the lawn, pointing and gesturing. Norman Bailey called the mayor's office this morning, says you're trying to tank property values with junk science. Junk science? I held up my spectrometer. This is a $50,000 piece of equipment that measures soil density and composition. What's junk about that? The conclusions you're drawing from it? Before I could respond, a small crowd approached from the street. Norman Bailey led the pack, flanked by several neighbors I didn't recognize. Quinn trailed behind, filming everything with her phone. There she is, Norman announced, the so-called expert who's trying to destroy our community. Mr. Bailey. Mackenzie stepped forward smoothly. I'm here to assess the situation and provide some perspective. Good, because this young woman is spreading panic with her doomsday predictions. I'm reporting geological facts, I said. The cliff substrate is unstable. That's not an opinion, it's measurable data. Measurable by who? A woman in tennis whites stepped forward. Do you have any idea what you're doing to our property values? My house has lost 20% of its worth since yesterday. Your house is going to lose 100% of its worth when it falls into the ocean. That's enough, Mackenzie said sharply. Oakley, I need to see your credentials and your preliminary report. I pulled out my tablet and showed her my geological survey license, my consulting credentials, my published research, watched her expression shift from dismissive to surprised to grudgingly impressed. Stanford PhD, she read aloud. State Geological Survey consultant, congressional testimony on coastal erosion. She looked up. This is actually legitimate. Of course it's legitimate, I snapped. Did you think I was making it up? But surely, Norman interrupted, there's some way to mitigate the risk without evacuating the entire neighborhood? There are engineering solutions, I admitted, retaining walls, drainage systems, soil stabilization, but we're talking about a multi-million-dollar project with no guarantee of long-term success. How much? The tennis woman again. For this scale? Probably 15 to 20 million, split among all affected properties. The crowd went silent. I could practically hear them calculating their share. That's ridiculous, someone called out. There has to be a cheaper option. There is, I said. Move. We can't just abandon our homes, Norman protested. Some of us have lived here for decades. Then you should understand better than anyone how much the coastline has changed. Mackenzie was studying my data, her expression growing more serious. These erosion rates, they're accelerating. Exponentially, the next major storm system could trigger a catastrophic slide. When's the next storm predicted? I checked my weather app. There's a system building off the coast, could hit in the next week. More murmurs from the crowd. Quinn was still filming, probably planning to post this drama on her social media. Look, Mackenzie said, I need to review this data with our engineering team. In the meantime, maybe we could ask Dr. Evans to tone down the alarmist language? Alarmist? I stared at her. People's lives are at risk. Property values are also at risk, Norman said. And frankly, I'm not convinced we should trust the opinion of someone who clearly has an agenda. What agenda is that? You grew up here, you left under difficult circumstances. Now you're back, trying to destroy the community that rejected you. The accusation hit like a slap. Around me, I could see neighbors nodding, buying into Norman's narrative. You think I'm making up geological data for revenge? I think you're a bitter young woman who's found a way to hurt the people who didn't believe in her. Norman, Mackenzie warned, but the damage was done. Is that what you all think? I looked around the circle of faces. That I'm lying about the science to get back at my family? Silence. Even Quinn had stopped filming. Fine. I started packing up my equipment. Don't believe me? Get your second opinion. Hire your own experts. Where are you going? Mackenzie asked. To file my report with the State Geological Survey. They'll want to send their own team to verify my findings. I shouldered my bag. And when they do, they'll reach the same conclusions I did. You can't do that, Norman sputtered. A state investigation will destroy property values permanently. Property values are the least of your problems. I headed toward my truck. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a bitter woman with an agenda. I was halfway to my truck when my phone buzzed with a text from my contact at the state office. Got your preliminary report. Sending emergency assessment team tomorrow. This is big, Oakley. I looked back at the crowd still gathered on the lawn, arguing among themselves. They had no idea what was coming, but they were about to find out. I was barely through the front door when Dad cornered me in the foyer. What the hell did you do? His face was purple with rage. Norman Bailey just called. He says you've contacted the state about our private family matter. It stopped being private when I realized the entire coastline is unstable. You had no right. I had every right. I'm a licensed geologist with a legal obligation to report public safety hazards. Mom appeared from the kitchen, wringing a dish towel like she wanted to strangle it. Oakley, honey, maybe we can work this out quietly, as a family. There is no working this out. The cliff is going to collapse. But if you just modified your report a little, Mom's voice was pleading, made it sound less urgent, we could have time to figure out solutions. I stared at her. You want me to lie in an official geological assessment? Not lie, Cody said, jogging down the stairs. Just present the information more diplomatically. Diplomatically? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. We're talking about a potential landslide that could kill people. You're being dramatic, Tabitha said, emerging from the living room with a glass of wine. It's just some cliff erosion. Happens all the time. Actually, I pulled out my phone and showed them the weather radar. There's a major storm system approaching. 70-mile-per-hour winds, heavy rain. If it hits while the soil is already saturated. Enough! Dad slammed his hand on the hall table. I don't want to hear any more of your doomsday predictions. Then you shouldn't have called me. We called you to help us, not to destroy us. I am helping you. I'm trying to save your lives. By ruining our lives? Mom's voice cracked. This house is everything we have. Our entire retirement is tied up in this property. And Cody's business is finally taking off, Tabitha added. We can't afford to lose everything now. I looked at my brother. What business? Cody shifted uncomfortably. I'm launching a luxury coastal retreat company, high-end vacation rentals. I've got investors lined up, properties scouted, all along this coastline. Well, yeah, it's prime real estate. It's a geological disaster waiting to happen. According to you, Tabitha snapped, but you're not exactly objective, are you? What's that supposed to mean? Come on, Oakley. You left here 8 years ago with a chip on your shoulder. Now you're back, and suddenly our beautiful coastline is doomed. It's a little convenient. Convenient? The word came out as a growl. You think I'm making this up? I think you're enjoying this, she said, taking another sip of wine. Finally getting to be the expert, finally making Mommy and Daddy listen to you. The accusation hung in the air like poison gas. I could see it in their faces. They all believed it on some level. You know what? I headed for the stairs. Believe whatever you want. The state assessment team will be here tomorrow. Oakley, wait. Mom grabbed my arm. Can't we discuss this? As a family? I pulled free. We stopped being a family the day you told me my dreams didn't matter. I was halfway up the stairs when my phone rang. Unknown number. Dr. Evans, this is Janet from Channel 7 News. We heard about the coastal emergency assessment. Could we get an interview? I glanced down at my family, all staring up at me with varying degrees of panic and fury. Actually, yes. I think the public has a right to know what's happening. Oakley, no, Mom whispered. But I was already walking to my room, phone pressed to my ear. I'll meet you at the site tomorrow morning. Bring a camera crew. I hung up and found Tabitha standing in my doorway. You can't do this to us, she said quietly. I'm not doing anything to you. I'm doing my job. Your job? She laughed bitterly. Your job is to help your family, not destroy them. My family destroyed themselves when they chose money over science. And what about innocent people, the neighbors who had nothing to do with your childhood trauma? That one hit close to home. They'll be safer, knowing the truth. Will they? Or will you just feel better about getting your revenge? I closed the door in her face, but her words echoed in my head. Was this about public safety, or was it about finally making them all pay? My phone buzzed with a text from Quinn. OMG, the video of you fighting with Norman is going viral. Raw coastal crisis. Geology drama. Then another from an unknown number. Dr. Evans, this is the LA Times. We'd like to interview you about the coastal emergency. And another. CNN here. Are you available for a phone interview tonight? I sat on the edge of the bed, watching my phone light up with notifications. News outlets, social media mentions, interview requests. The story was spreading beyond the neighborhood, beyond the county. Downstairs, I could hear raised voices, my family arguing about damage control, about lawyers, about how to spin this. But it was too late for spin. The truth was already out there, spreading like wildfire across the internet. And tomorrow, when the state team arrived with their equipment and their cameras, everyone would see that I'd been right all along. The question was, would that vindication be worth the cost? My phone rang again. This time, the caller ID made my blood run cold. State Emergency Management, we need to talk. The helicopter appeared at dawn, circling the coastline like a mechanical vulture before landing on the beach below the cliff. I watched from my bedroom window as a team of officials climbed out, their equipment cases glinting in the morning sun. By the time I made it downstairs, the front yard was chaos. News vans lined the street, reporters setting up cameras, neighbors clustering in anxious groups. Quinn was doing a live Instagram story, positioning herself for the best dramatic backdrop. Oakley! A tall man in a suit approached, hand extended. Senator Ray Martinez. I flew down from Sacramento as soon as I got the emergency briefing. A senator? They'd sent an actual senator. Senator Martinez. I shook his hand, aware of the cameras capturing every moment. I wasn't expecting. When one of our top coastal consultants files an emergency assessment, we take it seriously. He gestured toward the cliff. Dr. Evans, I need you to walk me through your findings. Dr. Evans, not young lady or Oakley or Sandra's daughter. Dr. Evans. Behind the senator stood a woman with a tablet and a man with surveying equipment. Official state geologists here to verify my work. Of course, I grabbed my gear bag. The primary concern is substrate instability along a 2-mile stretch. Excuse me. Norman Bailey pushed through the crowd, red-faced and sweating. Senator, I'm Norman Bailey, president of the Coastal Estates Homeowners Association. I think there's been a misunderstanding. What kind of misunderstanding? Senator Martinez didn't even look at Norman. His attention focused on me. This young woman has a personal vendetta against this community. Her assessment is biased, and are you questioning Dr. Evans' professional credentials? The senator's voice carried a warning edge. I'm questioning her motives. Her motives are irrelevant. Her data is what matters. Senator Martinez turned back to me. Doctor, please continue. I led them toward the cliff edge, pointing out the stress fractures, the soil composition changes, the accelerated erosion patterns. The state geologists took their own samples, ran their own tests, nodded grimly at the results. How long do we have? Senator Martinez asked. The approaching storm system could trigger a major slide within days, maybe hours once the rain starts. Jesus. He turned to his aide. Get emergency management on the phone. We need evacuation protocols ready. Evacuation? Norman's voice cracked. You can't be serious. Mr. Bailey, when a licensed geologist tells me an entire neighborhood is about to slide into the ocean, I take that very seriously. More news crews were arriving. I spotted CNN, Fox News, local stations from 3 different cities. The story had gone national overnight. Dr. Evans, a reporter thrust a microphone toward me. Can you explain the immediate danger to our viewers? I found myself surrounded by cameras, the senator nodding encouragingly beside me. This was it, my moment to be heard, to be taken seriously, to have my expertise acknowledged on a national stage. The geological evidence is clear, I said, looking directly into the cameras. This coastline is experiencing catastrophic erosion due to a combination of factors: climate change, rising sea levels, and unstable substrate composition. The next major storm could trigger a landslide affecting dozens of homes and potentially causing casualties. What's your recommendation? Another reporter called out. Immediate evacuation of all properties within the danger zone. This isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Behind the reporters, I could see my family watching from the front porch. Dad's face was stone. Mom looked like she might faint, and Cody was frantically typing on his phone, probably trying to contact his investors. Dr. Evans, Senator Martinez stepped forward. I'm authorizing you to lead the emergency assessment team. Your expertise is exactly what we need in this crisis. Lead the team. Me, the girl they'd dismissed as playing in the dirt. I'll need full access to the affected properties for comprehensive geological surveys, I said. You'll have whatever you need. And I'll need to bill the state for my consulting services. This is a complex assessment requiring specialized expertise. Of course, submit your rates to my office. Norman Bailey pushed forward again. Senator, surely we can resolve this without destroying an entire community's property values. Mr. Bailey, property values are irrelevant when we're talking about public safety. Senator Martinez's tone was final. Dr. Evans is in charge of this assessment. Her recommendations will determine our course of action. The crowd fell silent. Even the reporters stopped shouting questions. I was in charge. After 8 years of being dismissed, ignored, and belittled, I was finally the one with the authority. Dr. Evans, the senator continued, what do you need from us? I looked out over the crowd, the neighbors who'd questioned my expertise, the family who'd never believed in me, the reporters hanging on my every word. I need everyone to clear the area while my team works. This is now an active emergency zone under state jurisdiction. You heard her? Senator Martinez announced. Everyone back to the street. Let the professionals do their job. As the crowd reluctantly dispersed, I caught sight of Tabitha near the house. She was on her phone, and from her animated gestures, she was arguing with someone. Probably trying to contact insurance companies, I realized, trying to file claims before the official evacuation order made it impossible. The irony was perfect. My family, who'd never valued my expertise, were now completely dependent on it, and I was the one who got to decide their fate. The helicopter pilot approached. Dr. Evans, Senator Martinez wants to know if you need aerial surveys of the coastline. I smiled, feeling the weight of authority settle around me like armor. Yes, let's see exactly how far this damage extends. The aerial survey confirmed my worst fears. From the helicopter, I could see the full scope of the damage, stress fractures running like spider webs through the entire coastal shelf, areas where the cliff face had already begun to separate from the mainland. It's worse than I thought, I told Senator Martinez through the headset. We're looking at a potential collapse zone stretching nearly 3 miles. How many properties? 47 homes, maybe more. When we landed, the media circus had grown. National news trucks lined the street, satellite dishes pointed skyward, reporters doing live broadcasts with the unstable cliff as their backdrop. Senator Martinez gathered everyone for a press conference on the beach, well away from the danger zone. I stood beside him at the podium, the weight of dozens of cameras focused on me. After a comprehensive aerial and ground assessment, the senator announced, Dr. Evans has determined that we're facing an imminent geological emergency. Dr. Evans? I stepped to the microphone, looking out at the sea of faces. My family stood in the back, looking shell-shocked. Based on my geological survey, I'm recommending immediate mandatory evacuation of all properties within the designated danger zone. The approaching storm system makes this a life-or-death situation. Dr. Evans, a reporter called out. What's the timeline for evacuation? 48 hours. After that, we cannot guarantee anyone's safety. And the cost of this emergency response? I glanced at Senator Martinez, who nodded for me to continue. The state will cover emergency evacuation costs. However, property owners will be responsible for geological consulting fees related to individual property assessments. How much are we talking about? Norman Bailey pushed forward, his face desperate. I pulled out my tablet and opened the invoice I'd prepared during the helicopter ride. Standard emergency geological consultation is $500 per hour. Given the complexity and urgency of this assessment, I've logged approximately 40 hours of work so far. $20,000? Someone gasped. That's the base consultation fee. Individual property assessments are additional. I scrolled down the itemized list. Soil analysis, structural evaluation, risk assessment reports. Each property will require a comprehensive geological survey. This is extortion, Norman sputtered. This is standard consulting rates for emergency geological services, Senator Martinez said firmly. Dr. Evans is providing expertise that could save lives. I looked directly at my family. However, there is one property that requires a special assessment fee. Dad's face went white. Oakley, what are you doing? The Evans family property. I read from my tablet. Standard geological consultation, $20,000. Emergency assessment surcharge, $15,000. Specialized coastal erosion analysis, $10,000. $45,000? Mom's voice was barely a whisper. Plus an additional consulting fee. I scrolled to the bottom of the invoice. Familial disrespect and professional dismissal surcharge, $100,000. The crowd erupted. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed. Neighbors gasped and pointed. $100,000? Dad's voice cracked. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. For 8 years, you told me my expertise was worthless. You called my career a hobby. You refused to invest in my education while throwing money at Cody's failed businesses. I looked directly into the cameras. Now you need that expertise to save your lives, and expertise has a price. Oakley, please, Mom stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. We're family. We made mistakes, but... Family? I cut her off. You made it very clear 8 years ago that I wasn't really family. Not the kind that mattered. Cody pushed through the crowd. Oak, come on. We can work this out. I'll pay you back, I promise. My business is about to take off. Your business is built on coastal properties that are about to slide into the ocean. I'd say your investment strategy needs work. This is insane. Tabitha appeared beside Cody, her face flushed with anger. You're destroying your own family for revenge. I'm charging market rates for professional services. If that feels like revenge, maybe you should examine why. Senator Martinez stepped forward. Dr. Evans, while I understand there may be personal history here, perhaps we could discuss the billing structure privately? No. I looked back at the cameras. This is a matter of public record. The Evans family owes $145,000 for geological consulting services. Payment is due within 30 days. We don't have that kind of money, Dad said desperately. The house is our only asset, and now it's worthless. Then you should have thought of that before dismissing my expertise as a hobby. Please. Mom was sobbing now. We're sorry. We were wrong. We should have supported you, should have believed in you. Please don't do this. For a moment, looking at my mother's tears, I felt a flicker of doubt. Then I remembered the laughter, the dismissal, the way they'd written check after check for Cody while telling me my dreams weren't worth investing in. I'm not doing this to you, I said quietly. You did this to yourselves. I turned back to Senator Martinez. I need to sign the official evacuation order. He handed me the clipboard. With cameras rolling and my family watching, I signed my name with a flourish. By order of the State Geological Survey, all properties in the designated danger zone are hereby condemned pending geological stabilization. Evacuation is mandatory, effective immediately. The crowd exploded into chaos. Neighbors shouting, reporters yelling questions, my family standing frozen in shock. Quinn pushed forward with her phone. Oakley, this is incredible content. Can we do an exclusive interview? I could really help your brand. My brand? I stared at her. Get away from me. But she was already posting, her fingers flying over her phone screen. Geology, revenge, coastal crisis, family, drama, trending now. I walked away from the podium, leaving my family standing in the wreckage of their privileged world. The invoice was filed, the evacuation order was signed, and my revenge was complete. So why did victory taste so much like ashes? The evacuation was chaos. Moving trucks lined the street, families loading possessions with desperate efficiency. The storm was 12 hours out, and everyone could feel the electricity in the air. I was packing my equipment when Quinn appeared in my doorway, phone in hand as always. Oakley, this is amazing. You're trending on TikTok, Twitter, everywhere. Geology. Revenge has over 2 million views. She held up her phone. Look, people are calling you a hero. Woman destroys family who never believed in her. It's incredible. Get out. Come on, don't be like that. We could do a collaboration. I have 800K followers who would love to hear your story. Think of the opportunities, book deals, speaking engagements, maybe even a Netflix documentary. I said, get out. Her smile faltered. Fine, but you're making a mistake. This kind of viral moment doesn't last forever. She left, and I went back to packing. Through the window, I could see the Bailey estate, where Norman was directing movers with frantic gestures. His precious mansion reduced to boxes and bubble wrap. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. Mackenzie stood there, looking official in her emergency management vest. The evacuation's going smoothly, she said. Most families will be out by tonight. Good. Your family's having trouble finding temporary housing. The hotels are booked solid with evacuees. I kept packing. Not my problem. Oakley. Her voice was softer now. I know we weren't friends in high school. I know I was difficult, but this is bigger than old grudges. Is it? Your parents are in their 60s. Your mother hasn't stopped crying since the press conference. Maybe you've made your point. I looked up at her. What point is that? That you were right. That they were wrong. That they should have believed in you. And maybe that's enough. I zipped up my equipment bag. 8 years ago, I asked them for $12,000 to pursue my dreams. They laughed at me. Yesterday, they asked me to save their lives. I did. For $145,000. That's called market rates. That's called revenge. Sometimes they're the same thing. She left, and I finished packing. My truck was loaded. My work here was done. Time to go back to my real life, my successful life, the life I'd built without them. I was carrying my last bag to the truck when I heard shouting from the backyard. I found my family gathered around the pool, staring at something in the water. What's wrong? I asked. The pool's draining, Cody said. The water levels dropped 3 feet in the last hour. I looked at the pool, then at the cliff beyond it. New cracks had appeared in the deck, spider webbing toward the house. The substrate's shifting, I said. The pool's concrete shell is probably cracked. Can you fix it? Mom asked desperately. Mom, in 6 hours this whole area is going to be underwater. The pool is the least of your problems. Dad appeared from the house carrying a suitcase. He looked older, defeated. The moving truck's full. We can't take everything. Where will you go? I found myself asking. Motel 6 in town. It's all we could afford. He met my eyes. Funny how things work out, isn't it? All those years of telling you money didn't matter. That family was more important. Now we're broke, and you're the one with the successful career. Dad. No. Let me finish. His voice was quiet. Tired. You were right. About everything. The geology, the danger, the fact that we never took you seriously. We failed you as parents, and now we're paying the price. Benson? Mom whispered. It's true, Sandra. We were so focused on what we thought Oakley should be that we never saw who she actually was. He looked at me. You're brilliant. You're successful. You're everything we should have been proud of. And instead of celebrating that, we're standing here watching you destroy us." The words hung in the air between us. In the distance, thunder rumbled. "The storm's coming," I said. "I know." Dad picked up his suitcase. "We'll be gone in an hour." I watched him walk away, shoulders slumped with defeat. Mom followed, still crying. Cody and Tabitha were already loading their car. My phone buzzed. A text from the National Science Foundation. "Dr. Evans, your coastal erosion research has gained significant attention. We'd like to discuss a major research grant. Are you available for a call?" Another from a publisher. "Interested in writing a book about your geological assessment work? We think there's a huge market for accessible science writing." And another from CNN. "Would you consider a regular contributor position discussing climate change and coastal issues?" The opportunities were pouring in. My expertise was finally being recognized on a national scale. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd dreamed of, was within reach. I looked back at the house where I'd grown up, where I'd been dismissed and underestimated, where my family was now packing their remaining possessions into whatever containers they could find. The invoice was filed, the evacuation order was signed, my revenge was complete, so why did I feel so empty? I got in my truck and drove away, leaving my family to face the storm alone. In my rearview mirror, I could see the first drops of rain beginning to fall. The cliff would hold for now, but not forever. Nothing ever did. My phone rang as I reached the highway. "Dr. Evans, this is the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. The President would like to discuss your coastal erosion research." I answered the call and kept driving, leaving the past behind me. After all, I had a future to build, even if it felt like I'd built it on the ruins of everything I'd once called home.